An enthusiastic crowd greets their hero, showering him with glory and adoration. All of Isgard rejoices, glorifying its savior and the victory won. The boy drags his younger sister in a hurry, afraid of missing the grand spectacle. The late young man realizes with annoyance that all the fun is already over. The little girl looks at her brother in bewilderment, not understanding the reason for the sudden stop. Childish curiosity gives way to genuine horror at the sight of a stranger. The frightening figure in the cloak turns out to be a dark mage, inspiring fear with his very appearance. The young man, cursed by everyone, carries his heavy burden in complete solitude. A beautiful girl named Minolda meets a mysterious magician, as if she had been waiting only for him. The true savior of the kingdom silently presents proof of his victory. Having eliminated the last threat to Isgard, the girl tries to thank the savior on behalf of the empire, but he does not need empty honors. The young man coldly demands only one thing, the fulfillment of the promise given to him. The unexpected mention of Kim Min-jun's real name makes the hero freeze, and a cold calculation appears in Minolda's eyes. The heroine reveals her true motives, confessing her immeasurable gratitude for his secret work for the good of the empire. The boy listens silently, remembering his only goal, to correct the prejudice against dark mages in Isgard. The girl asks the last question with doubt in her voice, testing the firmness of his intention to return to his home world. The exhausted young man begs to be released, tired of being a pawn in someone else's ruthless hands. Minolda, feigning sadness, tries to seduce the magician with fame and honor, promising to atone for all past humiliations. A sinister grin appears on the face of the young man, who no longer believes her hypocritical speeches. The angry heroine loses her composure when the guy demands that she stop this performance and voice the real proposal. Minolda looks at him with complete bewilderment, not believing the guy's audacity. The young man pours out all his accumulated bitterness, recalling the slave position in which he found himself. The young man confidently seizes the initiative, demanding a fair price for his suffering. The heroine promises him mountains of gold, but the magician's absurd desire for Korean chicken baffles her. Kim Min-jun continues to mock, complaining about the disgusting food, which could rather be called feed. The discouraged girl mumbles promises to fix everything, completely losing control of the situation. The guy finishes her off with the next impossible demand from his world, taking the absurdity to the limit. A hero on the verge of a nervous breakdown demands a reward from a video game, while Minolda desperately tries to bring him back to reality. The heroine finally gives in, realizing the futility of her attempts, and agrees to begin the return ceremony. The young man looks back at the place of his torment with a bitter smile, anticipating the long-awaited farewell forever. The girl, with a heavy sigh, asks the young man to stand in the center of the summoning seal, at the very place where his captivity began. Kim Min-jun takes his place in the magic circle without hesitation, ready to complete this painful journey. As a parting gift, Minolda gives him the saint's patronage, concealing the true meaning of this gesture. The guy realizes with slight surprise that this patronage is actually a curse that limits his actions. Just the thought of getting rid of the slave mark on his hand gives the young man a long-awaited feeling of relief. Sacred magic envelops the heroes, casting shining bonds on the boy that were to become his final prison. The heroine tries one last time to appeal to his reason, but receives only a cold and harsh rebuff. A mocking smile touches the mage's lips as he reveals her pathetic plan, for patronage was the only thing that protected her. The girl accepts the challenge with unwavering determination, ready to face her destiny head-on. The slave seal disappears, and Kim Min-jun, now free from all shackles, prepares to move on to the next stage of his plan. The young man coldly declares his intention to take all the powers he received in Isgard as payment for his suffering. Dark magic suddenly bursts out of the young man, trapping Minolda in painful shackles. Streams of crushing energy suck all the girl's strength out of her, transferring it to its true owner. The saint, horrified, cannot understand how her own trap turned so cruelly against her. The hero reveals his deception with a mad grin, making it clear that he never intended to give up the power he had suffered. Completely exhausted, the heroine falls onto the cold floor, finally losing control of the situation. In the last glimmer of consciousness, Minolda clings to the thought that dark magic is not capable of activating the portal. All her hopes are shattered in an instant when Kim Min-jun easily opens the gate to another world. The guy only calmly responds to the girl's pathetic warnings, fully aware of all the risks. The shocked heroine realizes the true extent of his power, realizing that for him there is no difference between dark and light magic. Just before leaving, the young man promises Minolda one last farewell gift. Kim Min-jun, with mad joy, leaves his tormentor the most offensive message. The heroine's desperate cry is drowned out by the roar of the closing portal, taking away her last hope. The purple pillar of energy disappears into the sky, leaving the girl completely alone and in impotent rage. The saint clenches her fists in anger, making it clear that there were far more compelling reasons behind her cruel actions. The hero is thrown forcefully out of the portal into his homeworld, where the landing is far from soft. Unbearable pain pierces the young man's body as the unstable magic leaves him after the transfer. Waking up in a familiar room, the guy tremblingly reaches for a forgotten artifact from a past life. His phone. A young man picks up a smartphone with childish delight, rediscovering long-forgotten sensations. The screen lights up with his favorite game, and a happy smile of relief spreads across Kim Min-jun's face, finally returning home. A mad laugh escapes the young man, reveling in the freedom after returning from hell. Joyful anticipation gives way to bitter disappointment when you see a connection error in your favorite game. The sudden appearance of armed soldiers completely destroys the euphoria of returning. Even the soldiers are confused, not understanding why they were sent on such a strange mission. Tensions reach a fever pitch when one of the fighters bursts into the building, ready to fight. The realization that 2 whole years have passed since he was drafted makes the guy seethe with anger. Growing irritation grips the young man as he realizes the complete uselessness of a phone without internet. Desperate attempts to catch a signal on an empty and lifeless street only increase the feeling of anxiety. The appearance of a civilian in a restricted area causes surprise among the guards, who are watching his every move. A sharp shout from the soldiers brings the boy out of his reverie, forcing him to confront an incomprehensible reality. Complete bewilderment is reflected on the face of the young man, who does not understand what the military is doing in an ordinary residential area. The guy tries to blame it all on training and leave unnoticed, so as not to get into unnecessary trouble. The sudden appearance of a ferocious monster behind him takes the young man by surprise, returning him to a nightmarish reality. The battle-hardened hero looks at the creature with disdain, considering it nothing more than a pathetic cur. A chilling horror grips the boy at the moment of realization that all his demonic energy has disappeared without a trace. Instincts honed in another world allow him to dodge and deliver a crushing blow even without magic. The soldiers watch in complete stupor, as an ordinary civilian deals with a monster with his bare hands. Even weakened and wounded, Kim Min-jun grinningly acknowledges his overwhelming superiority over his defeated enemy. The brutal fight evokes memories of the inhuman training in Isgard that gave him his incredible strength. The protagonist looks at the corpse of the monster, and the main question hangs in the air. How did a creature from another world get here? The frightened soldier, in a panic, warns the young man, seeing in him not a man, but a dangerous predator. The military decides to let the guy go, realizing that his misconduct could have resulted in prison. But orders from above are more important. An interested soldier decides to test how much the returning young man knows about the dramatic changes in the world. Kim Min-jun answers the question with a sly smile, hiding the shocking truth behind a half-joke. The realization that his native Korea has changed beyond recognition makes the guy ask the main question about the events of the last 2 years. The story goes back in time to the birth of the dungeons phenomenon, which changed the world forever. The boundary between worlds has been erased, and nightmarish creatures from the dungeons have poured into reality, forcing humanity into battle. Along with the threat, hope appeared in the world in the form of the awakened, people with incredible abilities. These new heroes, possessing superhuman abilities, became the main weapon in the fight against monsters. To systematically combat the threat, an organization of hunters was created, uniting the strongest warriors of humanity. Bitter memories of the cursed saint take the young man back to a time when his world was still safe. All the pain and suffering seems pointless when the guy furiously realizes that even his favorite game is unavailable. The guy's complete ignorance of the world's chaos, coupled with his obsession with his phone, makes the driver increasingly suspicious. The memory of the young man's superhuman strength makes the soldier stay away, reinforcing his belief in his dark past. The young man's sharp and pragmatic questions about the state of the infrastructure and the fate of the people baffle the soldier. The soldier decides to enlighten the young man, mentioning that the study of monsters and dungeons has become a common university subject. Tensions mount as the soldier prepares to uncover the root cause of the world's dire state. The disaster began exactly 2 years ago, with a strange phenomenon that began to spread from the dungeons. Soon, dungeons began to appear more and more often, growing to frightening sizes right in the middle of cities. The main and most terrible threat was the appearance of titanic monsters bursting out of these scarlet portals. The soldier, his voice heavy, describes the loss of control over the dungeons and the desperate lack of manpower to contain the chaos. The unexpected question about his age catches the guy off guard, causing him to have difficulty remembering that he is 21 years old. The soldier teases the young man with a grin about his imminent conscription, unaware how close his words are to the terrifying truth. A chilling realization hits Kim Min-jun, shattering his naive dreams of a peaceful return to his favorite game. The prospect of being thrown back into hell, this time in a 5-year military service, drives the young man to the brink of madness. The official notification of his enlistment in the army that arrived on his phone finally confirmed his worst fears. The conscription date set for tomorrow seems like a cruel joke of fate, and the soldier's smug look only increases suspicions. The young man explodes with rage, unable to believe the absurdity of being called up without a basic medical examination. The driver calmly explains that due to an acute shortage of personnel, all formalities have now been simplified to the extreme. A short flashback reveals the tragic past of a boy who, after the disappearance of his parents, found his only refuge in the world of video games. Memories take you back to when a lonely high school student was torn from his familiar world just before graduation. Virtual reality is becoming humanity's only forgotten paradise, the last bastion of peace. Enjoying the atmosphere of the computer club and the long-awaited raid on the boss gives the guy pure, almost forgotten happiness. Devouring the food with greed, the young man thanks the owner for the opportunity to once again experience the simple joys of life. Having satisfied his gaming hunger, Kim Min-jun opens his newsfeed with a heavy heart, preparing to face the harsh reality. The official summons to the army for the following day becomes irrefutable evidence, plunging the young man into an abyss of rage. The bitter thought of lost power torments the hero, because with it he could have saved this world alone. The feeling of emptiness inside confirms the terrible guess. His body is completely devoid of demonic energy. A flash of confidence dawns on the boy as he remembers his inhuman physical strength, which is still enough to clear dungeons. A sinister smile appears on the young man's face when he finds a loophole and decides to take fate into his own hands. Kim Min-jun enters the recruiting station with an indifferent expression, surprised by the huge crowd of future soldiers. The alarming order to assemble in the hall makes the boy wonder if the local army can match the cruelty of Eastgard. The harsh drill begins from the first minute, when the sergeants shout to get the frightened recruits to line up in an even line. The instructors take out their rage on the conscripts, demanding complete obedience and a willingness to step over others for the sake of survival. A contemptuous smirk appears on the face of the young man, for whom pathetic attempts at intimidation seem like childish babble after the hell he has experienced. An important general interrupts the drill, offering new recruits a unique opportunity to avoid regular service and join the Hunter Corps. Even the tempting promise of a huge salary cannot overcome the fear in the eyes of conscripts, forcing them to remain silent. The battalion commander is already ready to continue the standard procedure, considering the offer to join the hunters an empty formality. Kim Min-jun's lone hand shoots up, breaking the deathly silence and drawing everyone's surprise. Without waiting for orders, the boy makes an incredible leap, instantly demonstrating his superhuman strength to the stunned soldiers. Kim Min-jun, with a cheeky smile, declares his desire to voluntarily join the Hunter Corps. Memories take the hero to the dark and harsh forgotten gorge of the northern region of Eastgard. The endless and thankless work of the Dark Mage in this world seems like a real curse. The main weakness of this class is demonic energy, which is not naturally replenished. A wise mentor once discovered the only way to replenish strength, through endless hunting. The tedious process of absorbing energy from the weakest monsters, and the bad reputation condemn the young man to eternal loneliness. The guy's sly look foreshadows a tricky question, leading to the essence of his lonely strength. There is a bitter irony in the question addressed to the dead spiders, emphasizing the absolute loneliness in the midst of this hell. A young man with a cheeky grin challenges the dungeon's hidden boss, the giant Arachne, to battle. The unexpected response of a rational monster dying of boredom shatters all ideas about enemies in this world. The young man delivers his verdict with a sneer, leaving the monster no chance to understand. Arachne's devastating attack is shattered by an invisible barrier, and the guy doesn't even move from the spot. A flash of memory takes him back to the peak of the Dark Mage's power, when his only goal was victory at any cost. With a grateful smile, the boy accepts the offer, skillfully hiding his true nature and motives from the commander. The battalion commander's penetrating gaze tries to discern the true reasons for such enthusiasm in the recruit's eyes. With a disarming smile, the young man replies that his interest in the dungeons is caused only by the desire to help in difficult times. The commander's sincere laughter echoes throughout the office, as the boy's naive answer seems like just a funny joke to him. Behind the mask of indifference lies a cold irritation, because his words were perceived as another youthful bravado. The harsh reality of the new world is that control over all dungeons belongs to an elite corps of hunters. In this ruthless unit, only the strongest survive, as rank is earned not by length of service, but by proven strength in combat. Joining the Hunter Corps seems to be the only way to freely move through dungeons and clear them alone. In his dreams, the boy already sees himself as an all-powerful general, absorbing demonic energy and rapidly developing. Naive ambitions of clearing all the dungeons and achieving a high rank are dashed by the harsh reality and impossibility of such achievements. Despite this, the cunning plan to become a highly paid hero of society seems absolutely brilliant to the young man. Stern Sergeant Lee Seung-ho reports his arrival, ready to assess the potential of the unusual volunteer. The battalion commander, with a friendly smile, introduces to the sergeant the very volunteer who caused such a stir. Lee Seung-ho begins his assessment with professional interest, demanding that Kim Min-jun show all his characteristics. The sergeant's cold and demanding tone only evokes bewilderment and suspicion in the young man. Memories of the status system in Eastgard come to mind, recalling a simple interface with numerical indicators. With anticipation and a slight grin, the guy activates his status window, ready to surprise everyone with his hidden power. Lee Seung-ho eagerly demands a report, expecting to see the impressive stats of the potential hunter. Instead of the expected numbers, the sergeant sees only a system error, which leaves him completely perplexed. Lee Sung-ho, barely containing his anger, perceives what happened as blatant bullying on the part of the insolent volunteer. The action moves to the Hunter Corps Training Center, located somewhere in Gyeonggi-do. A thoughtful sergeant reminisces about the past, not expecting to meet here a man from distant and dark times. Hunter Song In-so appears at the door, his cold and distant demeanor immediately noticeable. The young man corrects the sergeant, modestly calling himself only a recruit, despite his famous name. Song In-seo politely but firmly asks not to give him any leeway because of his father's status, wanting to prove everything through his own efforts. The senior officer assures with a smile that there will be no concessions, but a shadow of doubt still creeps into his words. The general entrusts the new recruit with an important mission, making it clear that he expects a lot from him from the very beginning of his service. Sun In-seo gratefully accepts the words of support, noting the importance of choosing those who are ready to serve on the front lines. The general's sincere gratitude only causes the young man to feel terrible awkwardness and a blush on his cheeks. The officer remembers a funny report about a new volunteer and decides to share the story. The intrigued sergeant offers to personally visit this extremely interesting comrade to assess his potential. Kim Min-jun looks around the incredibly high-tech and expensive training facility with undisguised shock. Shocked by the scale and luxury, the guy cannot believe how much money was invested in this institution. Lee Sung-ho immediately cools the recruit's ardor, reminding him that a decision on his enlistment has not yet been made. The sergeant makes it clear that a special case requires personal verification, and only an order from above forced him to appear here. With irritation in his voice, the young man inquired about the upcoming test, tired of the sergeant's picky attitude. Lee Seung-ho points to a huge red crystal, explaining that all it needs to do to pass the test is move it just an inch. The sergeant's cold gaze challenges him, giving the boy just 10 minutes to prove his talent. The incredibly dense and heavy crimson crystal presents a virtually impossible task for any human. There is incredible self-confidence in the young man's grin as he thanks the sergeant for this ridiculously easy test. A deep suspicion is reflected in the sergeant's gaze, who has already encountered imposters who tried to cheat the system. The memory of the incredible jump, combined with the error in the status window, only increases the sergeant's bewilderment and suspicion. The appearance of General Choi and Song In-seo on the observation deck ups the stakes, turning a simple test into a real spectacle. The general, with obvious interest, confirms the uniqueness of this case, where incredible physical strength is combined with an inexplicable error of status. An experienced commander, who has never encountered anything like this, places great hopes on this unique recruit. A sudden recognition pierces the young man at the sight of a monstrously heavy mineral, well known to him from the world of Isgard. A confident smirk appears in the reflection as the young man realizes that he is capable of easily breaking this crystal. Without a second thought, Kim Min-jun prepares to strike while Sergeant Lee Sung-ho watches skeptically from the side. A mad passion flares in the eyes of the guy, who puts into the blow not only strength, but also a desperate hope to find a source of energy. A single blow shatters the giant crystal into bloody fragments, leaving the onlookers in complete shock. A slight disappointment flashes across the young man's face as he realizes that his hopes for an easy source of power have not been realized. Grueling training begins on the first day, and every new recruit immediately realizes that the path to becoming a hunter will be unbearably difficult. A 4-week hellish marathon turns ordinary guys into killing machines, ready for real battles immediately after graduation. The endless staircase of 6,000 weighted steps becomes the first test of endurance, weeding out the weak from the very beginning. The ruthless instructor Lee Sung-ho, nicknamed the Devil, personally controls everyone, giving them no chance to take a break. Complete exhaustion was the expected outcome, but the reality turned out to be far more brutal than any recruit could have imagined. Among the exhausted crowd, only one madman stands out, who easily overcomes the test, causing shock and bewilderment among the others. An incredible lightness fills the young man's body as he effortlessly overcomes the grueling test, only dreaming of his former demonic strength. Even hellish training seems like child's play compared to Isgard, and a simple meal in the dining hall feels like a feast for the gods. The brutal daily routine leaves no time for rest, but one detail in it attracts the guy's special attention. The treasured line about free time becomes the only goal that gives the guy strength and makes him rush forward with new energy. The realization of all the benefits of service, training, food, money, and precious time for play fills the young man with pure delight. An inexplicable surge of strength makes the guy run even faster, leaving behind his exhausted comrades in complete bewilderment. The rookie's incredible speed shocks even the diabolical instructor who can't believe his eyes. Kim Min-jun reaches the top alone, easily completing the test that should have broken him. The incredible stopwatch result confirms the impossible. The test, designed to last 14 hours, was completed in a matter of minutes. The instructor's promise of a 30-minute pass seems ridiculous in the context of the hero's feat, who now eagerly awaits the announcement of his own time. The unprecedented 21-minute result will forever go down in history, forcing the instructor to doubt the reality of what was happening. The instructor's cold gaze reminds him that physical strength is nothing without the hunter's most important quality, the ability to react to monsters. The instructor's direct and piercing gaze promises Kim Min-jun special attention and a merciless test of strength. Childish delight grips the new recruit, whose stamina stats have increased by just 1 point after the hellish training session. Complete bewilderment grips the young man, for whom the pitiful increase in characteristics by 1 seems a sign of his own weakness. Memory returns the hero to Isgard, where daily growth of characteristics was a natural result of inhuman training. Rumors of the boy's feat instantly spread among the recruits, causing envy and admiration, since getting a pass from Sergeant Lee was considered impossible. The friendly treatment of his comrades comes as a real shock to Kim Min-jun, who is completely unaccustomed to normal human communication. Dark memories of Isgard come to life, where the image of the Dark Mage evoked only superstitious horror, causing people to turn away from him. An unexpected invitation to the play area becomes the first step toward healing, causing the boy to realize with surprise that he is no longer an outcast. The guy panics and rushes from his seat upon hearing the news of the opening of the gaming zone, reproaching his friend for his criminal silence. The ticking clock reminds him of the need for sleep, and the young man sets himself the goal of getting at least 9 hours of sleep. Harsh memories of Isgard come alive, where even an hour of sleep under the watchful eye of a fearsome guard was considered an unimaginable luxury. The mad passion of the game completely consumes the young man, turning him into a possessed demon in front of the monitor screen. The merciless morning cross-country run, accompanied by the instructor's shouts, becomes a harsh reminder that any weakness is punishable by deprivation of breakfast. Kim Min-jun greets the new day with a dazzling smile, boasting that he managed to reach the maximum level 10 times overnight. The completely exhausted comrade looks at the young man in shock, unable to believe his monstrous endurance after a sleepless night. A playful offer of water turns into a cruel joke when the hero pours it on his comrade, admiring his monstrous resilience. The boy's inhuman energy turns him into a source of life for the entire squad, which now greedily reaches out to him, like chicks to their mother. The angry lieutenant delivers a crushing verdict, calling the recruits the most talentless squad in history, and plunging them into the abyss of despair. The cruel prophecy of the death of half the squad becomes a chilling blow of reality for the recruits. The lieutenant angrily announces the final stage, a deadly dungeon adaptation training. The existence of mysterious, never-disappearing dungeons becomes a new, unknown threat to all of humanity. These unique dungeons are constantly changing their structure, turning into the perfect testing ground for survival. The marked map becomes a harbinger of the final test in the heart of this living labyrinth. The realization of the inevitability of deadly training plunges the entire squad into an abyss of animal terror. The officer watches the recruits' fear with a devilish grin, considering it fuel for survival. The instructor's ruthless philosophy compares recruits to racehorses requiring a whip. The commander skillfully uses the carrot, promising salvation to those who show ingenuity in the coming hell. The incredible reward ignites a spark of wild hope and fierce determination in the eyes of the doomed recruits. The lieutenant furiously promises a 3-day leave to the winner, igniting the recruits' thirst for blood. Among the faces frozen in fear, only Kim Min-jun beams with delight, anticipating the coming battle. An ominous blue portal into the dungeon becomes a gateway to hell for unsuspecting recruits. Naive assumptions about camping are replaced by horror at the sight of an approaching military truck. A cruel reality falls upon the recruits, who are mercilessly thrown into the dungeon. The sudden appearance of a truck in this strange place only causes bewilderment among the stunned guys. The ferocious hounds locked in a cage become the first harbinger of the mortal danger of this place. Animal terror paralyzes the squad at the sight of real monsters out on a bloody hunt. Only the young man who has passed through Asgard looks at them with disdain, comparing them to harmless lapdogs. The instructor confirms their worst fears, declaring that these are the very creatures they will have to fight. The lieutenant sets strict limits: defeat the hound within an hour, or forget about returning forever. The stern order to fight to the end, using all one's resources, sounds like a death sentence for new recruits. The instructor, with cold calm, orders the recruits to get their only protection before the fight. The exclusive and extremely heavy protective suit becomes the first real test of durability. Clumsy and ineffective armor only causes confusion and doubts about its reliability among new recruits. The disgusting aura and the smell of sweat from the old armor make Kim Min-jun feel disgusted. The young man's impudent question about the possibility of removing his armor after a quick victory infuriates the lieutenant. The cunning officer reminds that this is a team exercise, and it will not be possible to surpass everyone alone. The realization that they need to work together sends the squad into a panic, as they have no plan. Only the guy who has been through hell remains calm, because for him the task seems ridiculously simple. Kim Min-jun confidently takes command, offering his comrades his brilliant plan. The crazy tactic of grabbing the hounds by the paws and tearing them in half leaves the recruits in a state of shock. The simple and brutal comparison of killing monsters to making kimchi finally convinces everyone of his madness. At the lieutenant's command, the cage opens and the deadly threat breaks free, Released into the wild, the ferocious hounds immediately rush to attack, sowing panic and terror. Instead of the expected attack on the recruits, the monsters roar and rush deeper into the dungeon. The young man easily explains the hounds' behavior, because for the hungry animals, home has become more important than prey. His simple and logical guess evokes sincere admiration for his insight among his comrades. Flashbacks to the past reveal that Kim Min-jun himself was once a hunted animal like him. The lieutenant's angry shout cuts short the fun, reminding them that any mistake in this place is punishable by death. The lieutenant delivers his verdict as he sends the first team of recruits into mortal danger. Urged on by the shouts of their instructors, the 4 doomed recruits slowly make their way towards the portal. Kim Min-jun's calm in the face of danger seems like madness to his comrades. The officer gives the order to begin the training, reminding about the need for constant monitoring and readiness for evacuation. The instructors, hidden inside the dungeon, acknowledge receipt of the order, ready to observe. A view from above reveals the fragility of new recruits in the face of a hostile and changing world. The corporal's report confirms the detachment's arrival, but the underlying alarm in his voice betrays something more. The presence of that same jerk, Kim Min-jun, on the team becomes the main topic of discussion among the instructors. A recruit who shows the most outstanding results becomes the object of special and close attention. The main question hangs in the air. Will this phenomenal young man be able to prove himself in a real fight? A slight smile touches the lips of the young man, who senses the approach of impatient enemies. The knowledge that an easy victory would deprive his comrades of experience makes the boy restrain his true strength. Kim Min-jun is the first to notice the hounds approaching, warning the unsuspecting recruits. The sudden appearance of monsters causes panic, but the young man tries to calm his comrades, reminding them about the armor. The young man steps forward without fear, taking on the role of leader and challenging the ferocious creatures. Having deftly dodged the first attack, the hero easily parries the attack of the enraged hound. His contemptuous look and calm tone betray his complete superiority over the pathetic cur. The crushing blow sends the monster flying, demonstrating the boy's incredible physical strength. The second hound attacks another recruit, whose desperate cry for help echoes throughout the cave. A lightning-fast kick saves a comrade from certain death, leaving the others completely stunned. Kim Min-jun tries to encourage his comrade, reminding him to fight back and not show weakness. A stark reminder of the mortal danger of real combat forces recruits to brace themselves. Under the young man's leadership, the squad begins to put pressure on the monsters, using their numerical advantage. The shocked instructors can't believe that this new recruit has such leadership qualities. The boy's confident leadership helps his comrades overcome their fear and engage in fierce combat. One of the instructors comes up with a wild theory that the young man is a returning veteran. Kim Min-jun's leadership skills and helpfulness to his comrades earn him the highest score on the test. The unexpected appearance of the instructors interrupts the triumph, reminding them that the test is not over yet. The guy's impudent question about an exit pass irritates even the imperturbable instructor. The young man smirks and calls the instructors tsundere, noticing their hidden concern for the new recruits. A powerful tremor runs through the dungeon, foreshadowing an imminent and terrible transformation. The sudden disappearance of the portal plunges instructors and recruits into a state of shock and panic. The corporal, in horror, tries to contact the outside world, realizing the seriousness of the situation. While his comrades panic and suspect an earthquake, Kim Min-jun maintains an icy calm. An experienced young man immediately recognizes the nature of the cataclysm. It is a transformation, a change in the structure of the dungeon. The comrade's frightened question about what will happen next remains unanswered, increasing the general fear. The only exit from the dungeon begins to close, cutting off the recruit's path to salvation. The realization that they are trapped sends chills of horror through even the most seasoned hero. Panic grips the instructors, who cannot understand the reason for such a rapid and unpredictable transformation. An unexpected incident puts everyone on an equal footing, turning training into a real fight for survival. The instructor tries to calm the recruits, referring to the management and promising that the exit will open soon. The false hope of salvation brings a sigh of relief to the recruits, but the corporal's ominous gaze says otherwise. The instructor's feigned calm and belief in outside help seem like just a pathetic attempt to hide his own fear. The realization that their confidence in the dungeon's safety was a mistake hangs heavy over everyone. A suddenly locked entrance becomes an ominous symbol of an unforeseen situation that ruins all plans. The instructor's calm reaction only confirms their lack of preparedness for such a scenario, as this was not included in the manual. Kim Min-jun realizes that turning into a closed dungeon makes it much more difficult to complete than he expected. Despite the worst possible scenario, 2 instructors remain the only hope for salvation. The corporal's guess about the dungeon being turned into a confined space leaves his partner in a state of shock. Panic grips the second instructor, who cannot believe such a terrifying and unforeseen situation. The corporal's explanation reveals 2 possible reasons for the exit's disappearance, dispersal, or transformation. The second case, a closed dungeon, means that the gates slammed shut immediately after they entered. The chain of logic closes, and it becomes clear that their training ground has become a death trap. The only way to escape from the closed dungeon is to destroy all the monsters, including the boss. The realization that they are left alone, without the slightest chance of outside help, comes as a crushing blow. 6 people, including 4 inexperienced recruits, find themselves trapped in a deadly trap. The revelation of the truth puts everyone on guard, because now every step could be their last. The corporal despairs at their helplessness, because without equipment even the instructors will not be able to fight back. Unarmed and vulnerable, it would take them forever to deal with even the weakest goblins. The only realistic plan for survival becomes something that makes the instructor turn around. The only solution is to use protective suits for recruits, despite their inconvenience. The plan is simple. Use the recruits as live bait while the instructors destroy the monsters. The heavy realization that he will have to sacrifice the children who have trusted him weighs on the corporal's conscience. Rejecting the inhumane plan, the instructor decides to move forward, not wanting to use the boys as a shield. Irritation and disappointment overwhelm the young man, because such a dangerous incident happened at the very end of his training. The corporal's sudden stop and his strange behavior give Kim Min-jun an uneasy feeling. An invisible attack knocks one of the recruits off his feet, causing everyone to freeze in horror at the unknown threat. The instinct for self-preservation forces the instructor to flee, leaving his charges to their fate. A sudden and crushing blow ends the escape, proving that there is no escape from this threat. Kim Min-jun resolutely blocks the path of his comrades, realizing that approaching this danger is tantamount to suicide. Kim Min-jun notes with surprise that the instructors, despite their strength, turned out to be quite weak. The familiar smell awakens vague but disturbing memories from another world in the young man's memory. Abruptly throwing the bodies of the instructors aside, the guy tries to save his comrades from an unknown threat. Having given strict orders to wait at the exit, the young man prepares to face the impending danger alone. The desperate attempts of his comrades to stop him are shattered by a wall of cold and determined calm. Despite the screams and warnings, Kim Min-jun rushes deeper into the dark tunnel without hesitation. A wild joy lights up the guy's face, because he has found what he was willing to die for: demonic energy. The instructor's fainting was caused by a powerful wave of demonic energy emanating from the depths of the dungeon. A sinister smile appears on the face of the young man, who understands perfectly well the nature of this power and its impact. Even in Isgard, the Guardians were protected by special magic to resist the corrupting influence of demons. For ordinary people, this energy is deadly, but for the young man, it is a source of incredible strength. Demonic energy for a dark mage is like a charger for a dead phone. Deep in the cave, the boy finally finds what he was looking for: a powerful source of dense demonic energy. The ringing silence and the absence of monsters only increase the tension, forcing the guy to be on guard. An invisible enemy, capable of hiding even from his heightened senses, becomes a serious threat. The sudden appearance of the Dark Hound, an old acquaintance from Isgard, comes as a complete surprise. This creature is not just a monster, but an absolutely superior species, familiar to him for a long time. The memory of his first, almost fatal encounter with this creature awakens forgotten fears in the hero. Despite the danger, meeting a familiar face in this alien world brings a strange relief. Grateful for the treat, Kim Min-jun unleashes all his might on the monster, preparing to absorb its power. The monster's death roar becomes gratitude for its demonic energy becoming prey. The disgusting smell of blood only makes the guy feel disgusted, reminding him of the cruelty of this world. Their poisonous blood and post-mortem energy release make dark hounds deadly to normal warriors. Absorbing dark energy, the boy's hand begins to transform, revealing his true nature. For the dark mage, poisonous blood poses no threat, becoming only a source of new strength. The long-awaited sensation of absorbing demonic energy fills the guy with euphoria, charging him like a battery. The main question torments the young man: what is the monster from Isgard doing in this world, so far from home? The instructor's panic confirms their guess. This is the first time a monster with demonic energy has appeared on Earth. The ability to travel between dimensions is only possible for the greatest magicians, or those who possess divine powers. This ability is not for everyone, and behind the appearance of the Hound is someone much more powerful. The anxious thoughts about Dark Hound's debut in Korea force the guy to put aside unnecessary thoughts. While searching for a corpse for a report, the young man is surprised to discover that there is no trace left of the monster. Hope sparks in the recruit's eyes as one of the instructors begins to come to his senses. The recruit's sudden cry makes the instructor, who has just woken up, jump to his feet in panic. The realization that they are left alone, without protection, plunges the instructors into a state of shock. The news that Kim Min-jun went deep into the dungeon alone enrages everyone. The recruit's crazy act causes the instructor to become angry and despairing. Thoughts that he needs to be stopped immediately struggle with a sense of duty and the impossibility of doing so. A feeling of guilt and helplessness overwhelms the instructor, who should have been defending, not fainting. The unexpected return of the young man with the monster's carcass on his shoulders puts an end to this crazy situation. The instructors look at the dead hound in shock, not recognizing it as the monster they saw earlier. One of the recruits, unable to contain his curiosity, pokes at the corpse, causing the instructors to panic. The realization that it was this monster that caused them to faint sends a chill through the instructors. The feat of the young man who single-handedly defeated the giant creature seems absolutely impossible to his comrades. The sudden opening of the gates to the dungeon becomes a signal for the long-awaited salvation. The instructor can hardly believe what happened, trying to comprehend how the recruit was able to defeat the hound single-handedly. The corporal gives the order to escort the new recruits, deciding to personally keep an eye on the most outstanding of them. The strict order to report everything to the lieutenant emphasizes the seriousness and unusualness of what happened. The instructor, with a grin, reminds them of the need to talk about the incompetence of their mentors. The corporal's heavy sigh betrays his dejected state, as they face a military tribunal for abandoning their charges. The instructor's sincere gratitude for saving lives becomes the best reward for a young hero. An embarrassed smile appears on the face of the guy, who is completely unaccustomed to praise and recognition. The heavy admission of his own guilt and cowardice makes the corporal look away, full of shame. Kim Min-jun's slight smile hides his anxiety, as he now has to explain his feat. The unexpectedly pleasant end to the training and well-deserved compliments evoke warm feelings in the young man. A sudden system notification about a bug fix interrupts the joyful moment, causing confusion. The lack of understanding of the nature of the error and its sudden correction makes the guy feel confused. The young man is overcome with rage at the thought that systemic failures are haunting him even in this world. An updated status window appears before your eyes, but its contents seem strange and incomprehensible. An absurd and inappropriate phrase in the status window plunges the hero into a state of complete shock and bewilderment. A memory of a beloved character from the game reveals the true reason for the strange inscription's appearance. A mad cult, created as a joke, becomes an unexpected and very strange legacy in Isgard. The realization that he has become significantly weaker and his characteristics worse plunges the young man into despondency. The loss of demonic energy upon return becomes a cruel price to pay for traveling between worlds. Of the entire arsenal of powerful skills, only one remained, and even that one was the completely useless desecration. The only effect of the remaining skill, a stomachache, seems like a cruel twist of fate. The absurdity of the situation, reminiscent of a cheap novel, makes the guy feel nauseous and desperate. With such pathetic abilities, achieving any of the set goals seems absolutely impossible. The memory of the limit of power reached in Isgard ignites a spark of former confidence in the hero's soul. A clear goal, to regain his strength to save his beloved gaming company, becomes his main motivation. Memories of helplessness in Isgard fade in the face of a new goal, giving the hero determination. Complete chaos reigns in the training center after an unprecedented incident in the dungeon. The closing of the gates and the lack of clear orders from the lieutenant create an atmosphere of panic and uncertainty. The feat of a simple recruit who defeated a new monster calls into question the competence of the instructors. A series of incredible events forces the command to postpone the assignment of ranks and enter a waiting mode. The recruits' indignation grows as the incident turns their last week of freedom into torture. Rumors of Kim Min-jun's feat instantly spread throughout the barracks, causing admiration in some and distrust in others. Promoted to private, Kim Min-jun reports his arrival to the lieutenant with dignity. The officer's friendly greeting and the other soldiers' humiliating bow create a tense atmosphere. The lieutenant lets the private go with a smile, making it clear that a special and very difficult future awaits him. Another private's ingratiating attempt to curry favor with the lieutenant only makes the officer laugh. An unexpected call to the office interrupts the idle chatter, causing Kim Min-jun to tense up. Achieving the highest score on the tests opens up a special offer from the high command for the young man. The realization that he has a true gem in front of him fills the general with genuine admiration. Compared to Kim Min-jun's incredible talent, everyone else seems like just gray and ordinary chickens. To miss such talent would be a crime, and the general decides to use this chance to his advantage. The officer offers the guy a quick career advancement, but with one small and almost impossible condition. The insane offer to voluntarily join the most dangerous corps of hunters sounds like a death sentence. The lieutenant, with a devilish laugh, offers the boy an impossible task, enjoying his confusion. The general understands that even such a crazy offer will not be able to break the will of this unusual recruit. KR-1 is the most extreme duty station, where constant frost and monsters become commonplace. The prospect of rapid advancement in this hell becomes the guy's best motivation and only chance. The higher the rank, the more opportunities you have, and the ability to freely enter dungeons is priceless. The young man's unexpected and firm consent plunges the general into a state of complete shock and bewilderment. Kim Min-jun declares without a shadow of a doubt his readiness to go to the most dangerous region of Korea. In tears, the lieutenant begs the boy to contact him upon arrival, unable to believe his recklessness. The farewell to comrades is filled with mixed feelings, mistrust, admiration, and slight envy. The officer is surprised and tries to understand the motives of the guy who voluntarily chose a place that everyone avoids. Behind the mask of recklessness lies cold calculation and a crazy, but clear goal. unknown to anyone. The loudest and most unusual recruit sets out to meet his destiny, leaving his surprised comrades behind. The loneliness on the empty parade ground only causes the guy bewilderment and a growing feeling of anxiety. The sudden appearance of a military truck rushing straight towards him leaves the young man frozen in shock. The stern look from the senior officer and the mention of a delay due to snow create a tense atmosphere. Kim Min-jun is completely perplexed, because the mention of snow in the middle of summer seems like complete nonsense. The escort's arrogant behavior only irritates the guy and gives him a bad feeling. In anticipation of a new life, the young man is ready for any challenges that await him at the new base. Despite his readiness for training in monsters, one problem causes the boy serious concern. The fear of hazing, familiar to every recruit, becomes his main and most real threat. Cold rage flashes in the young man's eyes at the thought of having to endure humiliation. The willingness to sweat for a goal does not cancel out the determination to punish anyone who dares to humiliate him. Arriving in Cheorwon, where it snows in the middle of summer, confirms the worst fears about the cursed place. A senior officer roughly pushes Kim Min-jun into the barracks, introducing him as a new recruit. A cold order to feed and instruct a newcomer sounds like handing over an unnecessary burden. The appearance of a new soldier causes unhealthy excitement and curiosity among the old-timers. Rumors of Kim Min-jun's feat have preceded him, and now he is a legendary super soldier who defeated the Hound. The disdainful attitude and the order to unpack the newcomer's things immediately make it clear that hazing is held in high esteem here. Bewilderment and disgust are reflected on the young man's face when he realizes that these two are the alphas of his corps. The look of the old-timers, full of joyful anticipation, turns him into a new toy for bullying. The question of why such a talented fighter ended up here, and not on the front lines, sounds like a clear mockery. A cold and calculating answer about seeking experience and a quick promotion only reinforces their opinion of his madness. The cold thought that his talent could become the cause of further bullying flashes through his mind. To avoid ridicule, the young man decides to demonstrate something simple but impressive: one-finger push-ups. The contemptuous laughter of the old-timers only provokes the guy, who is ready to prove his superiority. An incredible one-finger handstand, executed with perfect balance, leaves onlookers in shock. Complete bewilderment is reflected on the faces of the grandfathers, who cannot believe what they see. Continuing to do push-ups, Kim Min-jun easily proves that nothing is impossible for him. The sudden appearance of an ominous figure behind him interrupts the demonstration, causing the guy to freeze. The frightened cries of the old-timers reveal their fear of the one they considered their victim. The appearance of Sergeant Lee Sung-ho, their former instructor, becomes a real nightmare for the grandfathers. The sergeant's icy disdain and his caustic remarks finally break their fighting spirit. The grandfather's humiliating retreat under a hail of insults from the sergeant becomes a bitter lesson for them. Relief from the departure of the annoying old-timers is mixed with irritation from their stupidity. An educational video about volcanic dungeons becomes the first step into a new, dangerous reality. The realization that even in the cramped barracks there is a strict hierarchy leaves the guy perplexed. The sergeant's order to appoint Lee Dong-jin as Kim Min-jun's mentor comes as a complete surprise to both of them. An awkward introduction to his new senior Lee Dong-jin takes place in a tense atmosphere. The incredible news about a special permit to visit the store causes shock and envy in the elder. Lee Dong-jin's generosity in offering to buy him anything he wants makes the young man doubt his intentions. The kindness and simplicity of his older comrade evokes sincere admiration and surprise in Kim Min-jun. The huge bill of 300,000 won makes the guy freeze in horror, while Lee Dong-jin hands over the card with a smile. While enjoying the forbidden delicacies, Lee Dong-jin explains that such luxury is only available with a special permit. The strict hierarchy deprives ordinary people of even the simplest joys, such as going to the gym or playing games. The realization that only corporals have access to the game rooms enrages Kim Min-jun. Lee Dong-jin accepts the injustice of the system with philosophical calm, advising people to simply get used to it. The desperate question of whether this can be fixed makes the older comrade freeze for a moment. The only path to freedom is to rise to the rank of corporal, but even that seems like a nearly impossible task. Growing irritation grips the young man, who cannot come to terms with the thought of slow promotion. Lee Dong-jin's story about failing the sergeant's exam for 3 years only confirms the hopelessness of the situation. Sincere gratitude for the support is mixed with the desire to quickly eat and forget about problems. The sudden appearance of new veterans interrupts the meal, foreshadowing new troubles and bullying. A brazen invitation to join the meal becomes the first step in establishing dominance. The unexpected appearance interrupts the conversation, causing Kim Min-jun to tense up in anticipation. Brutal intervention and death threats during shooting immediately show who is in charge. Lee Dong-jin's nervous laughter and attempts to smooth things over only highlight his helplessness. The smug old-timer begins to doubt whether he went too far with his threats. The young man's icy calm and his unwillingness to tolerate humiliation force him to resort to hidden power. An invisible attack of dark energy causes the bully to spit out everything he ate, leaving him in shock. Complete bewilderment is reflected on the face of the veteran, who cannot understand the reason for the sudden nausea. Panic grips the grandfather when he begins to suspect that someone is trying to poison him. Realizing that something is fishy, the hooligan runs away in terror, leaving behind a trail of panic and bewilderment. A painful stomach ache makes the bully question the usefulness of even the most useless skills. Shifting his attention, Kim Min-jun curiously asks Lee Dong-jin about the upcoming shooting. The senior comrade explains that the Hunter Corps uses bullets that are much more powerful than those used in training. Comparing training cartridges with ponies clearly shows the difference in power and recoil. Live ammunition, like a wild stallion, requires not only strength from the shooter, but also incredible skill. Lee Dong-jin encourages a newcomer by explaining the importance of firepower in a world teeming with monsters. The comparison with a wild stallion seems surprisingly accurate and apt to Kim Min-jun after what he experienced. Memories of the weapon from Isgard, comparable in power to an elephant, evoke in the boy a bitter feeling of loss. A predatory anticipation lights up the face of the young man, who is eagerly awaiting tomorrow's shooting. The tense silence of the shooting range is interrupted by gunshots, and each soldier tries to show his best performance. Even a single miss seems like a disappointing setback compared to the otherwise near-perfect shooting. The shocked instructor announces a nearly flawless result, not believing in the accuracy of his own subordinate. A smug grin appears on Kim Min-jun's face, easily dispelling any doubts about his skill. Even the bully's best result of 14 hits pales in comparison to the rookie's incredible skill. Rumors about the recruit's elite past are confirmed, causing genuine surprise among the officers. The simple answer that he was taught that way sounds like a mockery to those who went through the same training. Official praise from a stern instructor becomes the highest recognition of the young man's talent. The instructor eagerly awaits the special training, anticipating seeing the true potential of this phenomenon. The upcoming special training becomes just an excuse for more bullying and entertainment for the veterans. The slight regret of his comrades over a single miss only underlines the incredible level of skill of Kim Min-jun. Burning with curiosity, Kim Min-jun asks Lee Dong-jin about the details of special shooting training. The older comrade explains that due to the young man's exceptional skills, he does not need to undergo adaptation. The training involves teamwork, with 2 fighters tasked with clearing the training center of monsters. Despite its apparent simplicity, fighting moving targets requires coordination and quick reactions. The main complication is civilian targets, hitting which means automatic failure. The management's encouraging words about the situation being under control do not sound very convincing. The prospect of fighting living monsters fills the guy not with fear, but with a wild excitement and anticipation. An ordinary lunch in the canteen becomes an opportunity to discuss the incredible skills of a new comrade. Admiration for the 19 hits is mixed with slight envy for the young soldier's talent. Lee Dong-jin's modest admission of his own experience sounds unconvincing in light of his mediocre results. Sergeant Lee Seung-ho, whose results are unmatched, is rightfully considered the squad's true master of shooting. The realization of his superiority and #1 status makes Kim Min-jun smile slightly. Friendly praise from an older comrade makes a pleasant end to a conversation about shooting. The question of why only 2 people are sent on such an important mission remains unanswered. Lee Dong-jin explains that the team's composition is determined by management and is not subject to discussion. Rumors that the distribution takes place through a children's game seem completely absurd. The abrupt order to begin training in 5 minutes puts an end to all conversations and speculation. The unexpected announcement that he is on the same team as a newcomer causes a storm of emotions in the sergeant. The bully's smug grin makes it clear that he sees this as a chance to prove his superiority. The realization that his partner is that same bully does not bode well for Kim Min-jun. A mocking offer to improve the average clear time becomes a direct challenge for Kim Min-jun. The sergeant's sinister grin and his threat make it clear that this will be a life-or-death competition. The provocative question about losing confidence only adds fuel to the fire, forcing the young man to collect his thoughts. Kim Min-jun's icy calm and subtle smile suggest he's ready to take on this challenge. A harsh ultimatum and the threat of death in case of loss ultimately turn the training into a deadly duel. The sergeant's attention is drawn to another team, and he gives the order to observe their actions. Before the test begins, the instructor requires a report from trained shooters ready for combat. 2 confident sergeants report for duty, unaware of what awaits them. The training begins with the division of teams, who descend into the underground complex in separate elevators. Initially intended as tactical training, the exercise quickly turns into a brutal competition. In reality, it becomes a race for survival, where each soldier fights not only against monsters, but also against time. The main goal is to complete the test as quickly and accurately as possible, destroying all targets in your path. The final chord is pressing the red button, symbolizing victory over the opponent. The size of the markers on the radar directly depends on the danger of the monster, which adds an element of strategy. The mocking warning of what he's getting into sounds like a last-ditch attempt at intimidation. The random selection of monsters in each room turns the clearing into a real Russian roulette. The inability to predict the enemy forces every fighter to be in a state of constant tension and readiness. The sudden appearance of a fanged toad, a dangerous and unpredictable monster, becomes the first serious test. A cold analysis of the situation shows that the first fighter was simply unlucky with the random choice of monster. A swift and precise attack on another monster demonstrates the high level of training and skill of the soldiers. Sergeant Chung Han-sung's smug grin shows his complete confidence in an easy victory. The sudden appearance of a giant desert worm plunges the second fighter into a state of animal terror. The certainty that the opponent has already lost is replaced by panic at the sight of two fanged toads. With a triumphant look, Sergeant Kim Mungi presses the red button, declaring his victory. The excellent result of 2 minutes and 24 seconds causes admiration and surprise among the spectators. Mocking comments about bad luck and slowness only add fuel to the rivalry. Accusations of being late and accidentally hitting a civilian target become the last straw. Sergeant Kim's smug suggestion to take it easy only irritates his partner. The idea of betting on the outcome of a competition seems like an excellent way for Kim Min-jun to punish the offender. The bold proposal that the loser will grant the winner's wish raises the stakes to the limit. The mocking laughter and the offer to bet on the younger one's desire sound like an outright humiliation. The sergeant's only wish, 3 months' salary of the loser, reveals his true mercantile nature. The disdainful thought that his rival only wants money only strengthens Kim Min-jun's resolve. With cold confidence, the young man accepts the bet, ready to put his 3 months' salary on the line. The instructor's sharp order to prepare the next group interrupts the tense duel of glances. Before the test begins, the officer gives one last chance to speak, but both fighters are ready to fight. A firm no sounds like an oath confirming their readiness for a deadly competition. The command becomes the signal for the start of a race where not only honor, but also money is at stake. The realization that he fell for a cheap provocation comes to Kim Min-jun too late. Immaturity and inability to control anger when provoked become his main weakness. Doubts about whether the private can defeat the sergeant are mixed with anxiety for his survival. The shocked gazes of the onlookers are glued to the screen, where something unexpected is unfolding. A sudden tremor and vibration causes everyone to freeze in anticipation, sensing an impending disaster. An ominous feeling of the enemy's proximity forces Kim Min-jun to prepare for battle without waiting for orders. A giant monster that appears out of nowhere terrifies even a battle-hardened soldier. The disgusting scene of one monster devouring another leaves the young man in shock and bewilderment. The incredible speed and power of the monster, cutting down everything in its path, leaves no chance of salvation. Thoughts of fried chicken become the guy's only escape from the terrifying reality. The presence of a civilian target becomes the main problem, since an accidental hit means failure. The crazy thought that this runt is deliberately causing trouble just to interfere flashes through my head. A crushing blow knocks out the monster, demonstrating the incredible power of the hidden skill. Having subdued the creature, the young man, with a cold grin, prepares to deliver the decisive and final blow. A huge monster with a giant sword becomes a new, even more terrifying enemy. The onlookers are shocked and try to understand what is happening, as the recruit is still in combat. The experienced instructor immediately recognizes the new monster as a Cyclops, one of the most dangerous creatures. The nickname Demon Devourer and the ability to regenerate make this monster practically invulnerable. The strange behavior of Cyclops, who does not attack, but only makes a scene, arouses the instructor's suspicions. The smug smile on Kim Min-jun's face becomes the answer to the question about the reason for the monster's rage. With an incredible leap, the young man rushes straight towards the giant enemy, ready for the decisive battle. The activity and recklessness of this son of a bitch evoke mixed feelings of shock and admiration in observers. A mad grin appears on the face of a guy who prefers action to talking. A series of accurate shots to the monster's head proves that this is, after all, marksmanship training. Having evaded a deadly attack, Sergeant Kim Gwon-sik prepares for the next stage. Noticing the vulnerability in the monster's eye, Kim Min-jun realizes it's time to end this fight. The guy's incredible precision and composure leave observers shocked and perplexed. A sudden and deadly sword strike nearly ends the young man's life, causing him to freeze. A crushing uppercut sends the giant monster flying, demonstrating inhuman strength. The realization that he was deceived about the monster's strength only irritates the guy. The awakened demonic energy envelops the young man, who senses its presence in his enemy. The realization of his own guilt makes the instructor understand that firearms are useless here. Their only hope of survival is to hold out until help arrives, but time is against them. The confidence that he will complete it in a minute and a half speaks of complete control over the situation. The smug thoughts of an easy victory and a future salary completely blind the sergeant. Dreams of how he will spend the money he won on vacation make him forget about caution. The unexpected appearance of a rival at the finish line plunges the sergeant into a state of complete shock. With a mocking grin, Kim Min-jun presses the red button, declaring his victory. A cry of despair escapes the loser, who cannot believe such a humiliating defeat. The carelessly discarded corpse of the monster becomes the final touch in this picture of absolute triumph. Cheers greet the winners as they emerge from the training center. The incredible news that a private single-handedly defeated a plump Cyclops seems like an accident to everyone. Lee Dongjin's thoughtful question about his comrade's condition shows his genuine concern. The caustic reply that he won thanks to the sergeant's training sounds like an outright mockery. The reminder of the bet made and the newcomer's undisputed victory makes the loser boil with anger. The sergeant's desperate attempt to cancel the bet due to an unfair victory looks pathetic and unconvincing. The sergeant's indignation at the fact that he, an experienced fighter, could not finish later than a newbie, only evokes laughter. An analysis of the situation shows that the sergeant defeated 2 monsters, while the rookie only encountered 1. The sergeant's furious cry that he only had to face 1 monster seems unfair to him. The accusations of foul play and the demand that Li Dongjin prove it puts him in an awkward position. The threat of violence forces Li Dongjin to frantically search for an excuse to save his skin. The memory of Cyclops' unexpected appearance and his defeat with a fist makes the sergeant fall silent. The sergeant's rude behavior towards Li Dongjin only evokes contempt from the observing Sergeant Lee Sung-ho. Kim Min-jun's cold voice reminds him that even a mutated Cyclops is no excuse for defeat. The sudden appearance of Sergeant Lee Sung-ho leaves everyone frozen in anticipation of the inevitable reprisal. The mocking question about whether the sergeant is bragging about his rank to his juniors sounds like a slap in the face. The direct accusation that he is the one flaunting his rank leaves the bully speechless. The sergeant's clumsy attempt to turn everything into a joke only emphasizes his cowardice and insignificance. Lee Sung-ho's icy calm and his words about the inevitability of what was happening did not bode well for the bully. The idea of stubborn sheep becoming obedient under pressure from their superiors makes Kim Min-jun chuckle. The sergeant's nervous laughter and denials show that the lesson has been learned, and he will no longer dare to humiliate his juniors. The cold confidence in Lee Sung-ho's gaze suggests that order has been restored, and that it must always be that way. The talk of a promotion reminds Li Dongjin that a special occasion could speed up his advancement. The early promotion system, cancelled due to an accident, left Sergeant Lee Seung-ho as the last lucky one. Despite the abolition of the system, exceptions remain. The rescue of civilians or outstanding success in hunting. The subjectivity of assessing outstanding achievements makes this path to promotion almost unrealistic and very risky. Knowing that the commander always has the final say doesn't leave Li Dongjin with much hope. The desperate desire to get a promotion competes with the reluctance to endanger civilians. Just 2 days as a private feels like an eternity to someone who so desperately wants a promotion. A sudden emergency alarm interrupts the dull thoughts, announcing a new threat. His comrade's panicked cry makes Kim Min-jun realize the seriousness of the situation. Medium-sized bats, while not dangerous individually, pose a deadly threat in large groups. The ability to spew fireballs makes these creatures especially dangerous near flammable objects. The appearance of monsters at the fuel depot means imminent disaster for the entire military camp. Fear of an attack and a possible explosion causes one of the soldiers to raise his weapon in panic. The reasonable suggestion to wait for reinforcements and the installation of a protective dome sounds like the only correct solution. The terrifying thought that monsters might attack before help arrives sends chills down everyone's spine. The terrifying image of a nuclear explosion capable of wiping out the entire camp is becoming a reality. Helplessness and despair overwhelm the soldiers at the sight of a huge flock of bats ready to attack. The unexpected appearance of a newcomer from the second company comes as a complete surprise to everyone. The confident and calm appearance of the young man without equipment only causes bewilderment and fear among his comrades. For Kim Min-jun, this mortal threat is just a precious opportunity that could help him get promoted. The desire to gain all the experience alone makes the private forget about fear and rush into battle. The awakened demonic energy attracts a flock of monsters to itself like moths to a flame. The bustling preparations for installing the protective dome are interrupted by a sudden and frightening silence. The bewilderment on the soldiers' faces gives way to horror at the sight of what is happening on the battlefield. Sergeant Lee Sung-ho's furious shout makes everyone freeze, not understanding the reason for his anger. It's an incredible sight to see Private Kim Min-jun single-handedly holding back an entire horde of monsters. The accusation of inaction and the panicked cry for help sound like a slap in the face to the numb soldiers. Easily tearing apart monsters with his bare hands, the guy demonstrates his inhuman strength. The senselessness and ineffectiveness of this method of struggle force him to look for another solution. The panicked cry of a comrade about not having a bulletproof vest sounds like a death sentence in this mortal combat. The contemptuous smirk and the words about all the monsters belonging to him reveal his true nature. A new surge of demonic energy transforms him into a true demon, ready for a bloody harvest. A sudden attack of abdominal pain becomes a cruel and untimely retribution for Sergeant Lee Sung-ho. The suggestion to postpone the fight for a minute because of pain sounds like an absurd and inappropriate joke. Gathering his will into a fist, the sergeant unleashes his hidden power, turning an ordinary pole into a stun gun. With a cry, he rushes into the thick of the battle, ready to prove his skill. With a crazy grin, Sergeant Lee Sung-ho single-handedly holds off the pack, enjoying the battle. His incredible power and skill easily overwhelms all average bats. The appearance of a giant bat leaves the soldiers installing the dome in a state of shock. The giant monster's furious roar and fiery breath foreshadow a new, even more terrible threat. A desperate order to open fire, despite the proximity of a fuel depot, sounds like a death sentence. The crazy grin and the words about playing with fire leading to no good only emphasize his superiority. Easily parrying the attack, the young man reminds the monster that he who plays with fire will get burned himself. An incredible leap and a powerful lightning strike plunge the watching soldiers into a state of complete stupor. The final preparations for activating the protective dome are taking place in a tense and hectic atmosphere. Activating the dome and ordering the collection of monster corpses signals the end of the battle. The officer's expression of bewilderment turns to shock, as none of the killed creatures were seen on radar. The disgusting smell of roasted carcasses makes the soldier feel nauseous and disgusted. The information about 30 killed individuals and the question of the missing commander only increases the intrigue. The absence of a commander at such a critical moment seems strange and raises many suspicions. Flattery and attempts to curry favor with Sergeant Lee Sung-ho look pathetic and inappropriate in light of what happened. The officer's cold denial of his involvement in the incident forces him to look for another hero. The incredible news that 30 bats were destroyed alone seems like complete nonsense. An awkward request to borrow a stun gun reveals the true hero who has been standing modestly to the side. A second summons to the battalion commander's office does not bode well for Kim Min-jun. The strict order not to repeat yesterday's mistakes sounds like a final and stern warning. The reproach that he was lucky only irritates the young man and makes him want to prove the opposite. A special unit consisting of 4 battalions becomes the new target for an ambitious soldier. The question of why they are talking about the Awakened now reveals a hidden intrigue and tension. The shocking revelation that every single person in the Hunter Corps is awoken changes everything. Not all Awakened fight on the front lines. Many hold administrative and research positions. Advancement within the Hunter Corps is based solely on personal achievement and skill, not length of service. Kim Min-jun is overcome with irritation from the useless lecture and the unfulfilled hopes for good news. The mocking comment that he had hoped for something more after being summoned to the commander sounds like a reproach. The unexpected arrival of the hunter, who has destroyed the largest number of monsters, causes a general stir. A legendary 2-star hunter from the 104th Division personally visits their battalion, instilling awe and respect. The commander of the 2nd Battalion, Colonel Lee Junbyum, greets the distinguished guest with a loud greeting. The entire top brass of the battalion line up to greet the legend and pay their respects. The general's restrained praise for yesterday's feat becomes the highest reward for Sergeant Lee Sung-ho. The general's penetrating gaze tries to gauge the true strength of the 2-star hunter standing before him. A direct question to Kim Min-jun and a powerful handshake become the first real test of strength. The casual slap on the shoulder, which left the sergeant barely able to stand, demonstrates the general's incredible strength. The commander announces the start of an investigation into yesterday's incident, restricting access to the scene. The order to install additional radars confirms that the problem was not with the equipment, but with the number of enemies. The panicked cry betrays the fear and tension that reigns among the officers. A severe reprimand for recklessness and lack of equipment sounds like a final warning for Kim Min-jun. Praise for saving the fuel depot and for his lightning-fast reaction softens the severity of the reprimand. An unexpected early promotion becomes a well-deserved but shocking reward for the young man. The order to grant the hero a 3-day leave evokes envy and bewilderment among everyone present. Lee Dongjin is filled with genuine joy and gratitude for being praised too. The joyful anticipation of his first leave after being drafted fills the young man with energy and impatience. The sole goal of playing his favorite game at the computer club becomes his main motivation. A sinister grin, and the thought that even at home he will be disappointed betray his true intentions. The decision to spend his vacation not at home, but in the city, becomes the first step towards realizing his secret plan. Conversations among local residents about strange events in the mountains and the ban on visiting them only fuel interest. The story of the poisonous smell and headache that haunted the daredevil does not stop another adventurer. Warnings of trouble and danger only provoke the drunk man, who is ready to take risks for the sake of profit. His determination to enter the restricted area, despite all the risks, speaks volumes about his desperate resolve. Confidence that he will be able to find the way makes him ask to be dropped off right at the foot of the mountain. The driver's farewell and the question of how to solve the city's problem hint at his true mission. The lifting of restrictions on visiting the mountain after his visit becomes the main condition of their deal. The parting smile and the request to pretend to be strangers speak of the secrecy and danger of his mission. The familiar scent of demonic energy emanating from the mountains confirms his worst fears. A hidden threat and the need to act discreetly force him to resort to a force no one knows about. The sudden stomach pain caused by his skill among the guards becomes the first step in removing the obstacles. The idea of relieving themselves in a restricted area seems like a great way to pass the time and avoid problems. The confusion over the absence of monsters gives way to shock upon realizing the source of concentrated demonic energy. Absorbing the pure energy, Kim Min-jun feels his strength return, filling his body with power. System notifications about his increasing metrics confirm that his plan is working, and he is getting stronger. Reaching the limit of demonic energy unlocks a new, mysterious skill. The updated status window and awakened demonic energy become a new, useful skill for the young man. The new familiar is an old and faithful ally. well known to him from the battles in Isgard. A powerful summoning releases dark energy, preparing the way for the emergence of a powerful being. Disappointment at the appearance of a pathetic and weak spirit is replaced by anger at the injustice of this world. Despair overwhelms the boy at the thought that he doesn't have enough energy to summon a powerful familiar. The sudden realization that small size and the ability to hide in the shadows might be useful gives hope. Private First Rank Kim Min-jun's return from leave becomes the main event in the barracks. The admiring exclamations of his comrades about his exploits and awards from the command only cause him embarrassment. A modest gift in the form of lotion becomes a real surprise and a reason for joy for Lee Dongjin. The enthusiastic reaction to the gift and the promise of using it with pleasure brings a smile to everyone's face. The touching scene of friendship is interrupted by the appearance of an old-timer who is eagerly awaiting his gift. A fulfilled request to bring Maxim magazine becomes a real holiday for the grandfather. The unexpected news that the young man's name was on the list of candidates for promotion caused general shock. Special conditions and the opportunity to take the exam without taking into account the time of service become a unique opportunity for him. It turns out that the battalion commander of the training center himself made a special offer for the talented recruit. Incredible luck and early promotion seem like the height of injustice to the veterans. Malicious laughter and bets on whether the crazy jerk will be able to pass the exam fill the barracks. Upcoming exams and special training become a source of ridicule and entertainment for everyone. The question of whether Sergeant Kim is also going to take the exam makes him think about his future. The lack of reasons to stay in the army and the desire to move on leave him with a difficult choice. Preliminary briefing before the promotion exam becomes the first step towards a new goal. The two-part exam seems like a simple and straightforward test to Kim Min-jun. His confident gait and determined gaze indicate that the practical part of the exam does not frighten him. His sly grin and the idea that passing the exam is easy betray his self-confidence. The loud order to begin special training in weapons handling gathers everyone on the parade ground. The strict ban on the use of any weapons other than bladed weapons causes confusion among ordinary people. The order for the corporals to take up arms and go to a separate training session highlights the difference in status. The instruction on the basics of fencing from the combat regulations becomes the first real test for the privates. The training is based on the fencing of the Hunter Corps, which each person must adapt to their own needs. The stern instructor demands complete concentration as he demonstrates the basics of blade control. The instructor's incredible speed and skill in creating a whirlwind from the blade are awe-inspiring. The smile on Kim Min-jun's face shows that he finally understood the essence of this special training. The thought that in a real fight with monsters a rifle is much more useful does not leave his head. The memory of his guardian fencing, which was an order of magnitude superior to the local one, evokes in him a slight contempt. A sharp order to rise to the podium interrupts his thoughts, returning him to harsh reality. The unexpected challenge evokes surprise and slight envy among his comrades at the special attention. The instructor's deadly blade dance becomes a true test for the young man. Complete exhaustion after a grueling workout makes the instructor doubt his own abilities. Unexpected praise and recognition of his efforts become the best reward for Kim Min-jun. A simple but touching gesture, a chocolate bar as a treat, reveals the true nature of the stern instructor. Lee Dongjin's polite request to demonstrate his fencing technique becomes an unexpected challenge for Kim Min-jun. The bewilderment on the young man's face turns to shock when he realizes that the request is addressed specifically to him. Admitting your own difficulties and asking for help creates an atmosphere of trust and camaraderie. Despite his diligent training, Lee Dongjin's movements still reveal his uncertainty and lack of experience. The problem is not in the technique, but in something deeper that the average private lacks. A sinister smile and the thought that it is not yet time speak of hidden potential and secret plans. The long-awaited Saturday and the day of the promotion exam become a moment of truth and hope for everyone. A message from the administrative office interrupts the idleness, calling everyone to the military training ground. His confident look and the thought that it's time to become a corporal reveal his determination and ambition. Junior Lieutenant Kim Cholman introduces himself as a leader and demands fast and organized training. Soldiers from different platoons brought together create a tense atmosphere of competition and anticipation. The announcement that the exam will be held in the 105th Division becomes the first step towards the test. Rumors of the arrival of the 4th Battalion, made up of girls, cause an unhealthy excitement among the soldiers. Dreams of showing off their skills to girls become the main motivation for some. A friendly encouragement to try your best sounds like encouragement, and a reminder of the importance of this day. The arrival at the 105th Division's divisional base in Kapyong marks the beginning of a new and decisive stage. The instructor's furious cry that everyone but one has passed the exam echoes throughout the entire training ground. The humiliating failure of a written test, which is simpler than a driver's license, evokes only laughter and contempt from everyone. The greeting from the 105th Division examiners creates a formal and tense atmosphere before the test begins. Lieutenant Colonel Lee Cheolju, the person in charge of conducting the exam, announces the start of the practical part. The purpose of the exam is to find not just the worthy, but the very best, capable of becoming the elite of the Corps. Special mentions of privates Kim Min-jun and Song In-seo immediately set them apart from the crowd of contenders. Despite their short service life, these two have already established themselves as outstanding fighters. The order not to create misunderstandings and avoid conflicts sounds like a warning before the storm. Rumors of special privileges and the opportunity to apply for the front with excellent grades are confirmed. The painful memories of fellow soldiers who refused similar offers make the soldier anxious. The news that any of them have already become a private first rank seems almost impossible. The final order, to exert maximum effort, becomes the signal for everyone to begin the decisive test. Commander Jong Sang-cheol announces the start of testing the candidates' strength, agility, and endurance. The first test is a seemingly simple test of physical strength. The absurdity and monotony of exams, which boil down to the same thing, only cause boredom for Kim Min-jun. The 100-point evaluation system and the call-up of the first candidates create an atmosphere of intense competition. A crushing blow to the power meter demonstrates the incredible level of preparation of one of the candidates. A knockout kick that sends the opponent flying shows the brutality of this test. The humiliating verdict of 0 points and disqualification from the exam becomes a crushing blow for the loser. The appearance of Song In-seo from the 104th Division, who passed the test with ease, arouses everyone's interest. Her incredible beauty and rumors that her father is a division commander make her a true legend. A sharp gaze and an innate strength passed down through her genes make her dangerous and attractive at the same time. The order for Kim Min-jun to come forward interrupts the general excitement and brings everyone back to reality. The thought that he would have to repeat the trick with the crimson crystal only evoked a slight grin in the young man. The thought of bonus points drives Kim Min-jun to strive for the impossible, to push his opponent 10 meters away. An incredible shockwave throws the sergeant back, demonstrating the inhuman strength of a mere private. A crushing blow that nearly breaks the floor forces the sergeant to admit defeat. The disappointment of not receiving bonus points becomes a bitter lesson for the girl. The humiliating suspension for 0 points puts an end to her ambitions and hopes for promotion. The announcement that the strength test is over and the agility test is about to begin leaves no one feeling relaxed. Preparations for the next stage take place in tense silence, everyone preparing for a new challenge. The installation of a green net in the center of the hall only causes confusion and anxious questions among candidates. The idea that they will have to dodge bullets leaves everyone in a state of shock and horror. The instructor's sinister smile and his words about rubber bullets only increase the general fear. The arrival of the automatic turret adds the finishing touch to this deadly game. The challenge of holding out for 1 minute to get a perfect score seems almost impossible. The extra reward for taking the hits becomes a last chance for the most desperate. Strict rules for disqualification for leaving the zone or serious injury leave no room for error. Lee Dongjin's awkward attempt to cheer up his comrade only elicits a slight chuckle from Kim Min-jun. The belief that all the rank and file have already passed this test gives them a false sense of superiority. For Kim Min-jun, the speed of rubber bullets poses no threat, as he is used to dodging real ones. Knowing that he can predict the trajectory by simply watching the muzzle gives him a huge advantage. The very first candidate, unable to withstand the pressure, is eliminated, demonstrating the full difficulty of the test. The low pass rate and the large number of suspensions surprise even Kim Min-jun himself. The instructor's angry shout about the low level of training of modern hunters echoes throughout the hall. Private Song In-seo rises to the challenge with ease, ready to demonstrate her unrivaled skills. The incredible grace and speed with which the girl dodges a hail of rubber bullets is mesmerizing. A flawless performance that ended at the last second leaves everyone in shock and admiration. The girl's cold and piercing gaze, which stopped at Kim Min-jun, makes him puzzled. Awkwardness and embarrassment overwhelm the guy under the watchful gaze of the one who just showed off his class. The contemptuous thought that she expects praise is mixed with irritation at her arrogance. An unexpected challenge thrown straight to his face forces the young man to take part in this show of force. With icy calm, the guy stops all the bullets flying at him, demonstrating the difference in the level of skills. The complete bewilderment and shock on the faces of the observers indicate that they have witnessed the impossible. The panicked order to cease fire and the announcement of a perfect score become an admission of his absolute superiority. The next test is an endurance test, which will take place in a familiar dungeon. The instructor, with undisguised irritation, announces the beginning of the final and most grueling test. 40 minutes of continuous running inside an empty and transforming dungeon is a new challenge. A radio call confirms that all examinees have entered and the race for survival has begun. The caution and slowness of the other members only slightly irritates Kim Min-jun. The thought that it would be too boring to just run forward makes him look for new challenges. Song In-seo's sudden dash, leaving everyone behind, comes as an unexpected and pleasant surprise to him. Unwilling to give in, the young man eagerly rushes into pursuit, turning the test into a real duel. The incredible speed and endurance of these two, who left the rest far behind, are amazing. The girl's irritated shout interrupts the meaningless conversation, returning the guy to the reality of the race. The mad laughter and excitement of the chase completely captivate the young man, who cannot resist provocation. Rumors about Song In-seo, the general's daughter and a new recruit with incredible stats, are spreading throughout the barracks. Her modesty and lack of arrogance, expected from a general's daughter, surprise her colleagues. Envy of her easy military life is mixed with the recognition that she is the best recruit of the year. The memory of the incredible strength of the guy who destroyed the Crimson Crystal makes the girl think. The victorious flag wave is the culmination of grueling capture the flag training. A new record of 3 minutes and 34 seconds and a 10-minute break become the reward for the winners. The order for the blue team to gather at the instructor's office interrupts their well-deserved rest and foreshadows new challenges. Praise for setting a new record and permission to rest become the best reward for the team. The enthusiastic applause and recognition of Song In-seo's achievements from his teammates created an atmosphere of triumph. The atmosphere in the women's locker room is relaxed, full of laughter and discussions about the past training session. The news that their morning record was broken that same day leaves everyone in a state of shock. The incredible time of 1 minute and 2 seconds seems impossible, causing only bewilderment among the girls. Rumors of a new record set by Kim Min-jun of the 4th Platoon quickly spread throughout the base. The incredible story about a guy running twice as fast and not even breaking a sweat seems like a fabrication. An irritated shut up and sleep interrupts the nightly gossip about the exploits of the mysterious recruit. Dark memories of the past and a meeting with her father in military uniform take the girl back to her childhood. The warm touch of her father's hand and his silent support become a source of strength for her. A firm promise to become strong like her father becomes the main goal and meaning of life for Song In-seo. An unexpected invitation to meet with the daughter of her former boss becomes a new challenge for Song In-seo. Polite gratitude for concern conceals tension and the expectation of a catch. The opportunity to choose any unit thanks to excellent results puts the girl in front of a difficult choice. Instead of the expected answer, she asks a counter-question about the fate of the new recruit Kim Min-jun. Memories of childhood competitions and the bitterness of defeat make her understand the reason for her anger. The sudden realization that she envied his talent makes the girl blush slightly. A strong determination to become stronger without her father's help and to be number one becomes her main goal. The realization that she should have learned from him instead of competing comes too late. Having overcome herself, the girl finishes the grueling endurance test with a heavy sigh. The mocking comment that he almost fell asleep waiting only irritates her. Her desperate request to get the stamp as quickly as possible reveals her impatience and desire to end this farce. A furious dash to the finish line, full of anger and disappointment, becomes the final chord of this test. Exhausted but satisfied, they finally emerge from the dungeon, leaving all their difficulties behind. The announcement that Private Kim Min-jun had won first place with a record time was met with widespread delight. Achieving personal results and confirmation of incredible success become a real triumph for the young man. The bitter admission of her defeat and the realization that she fell for a provocation wound her pride. Having accepted the defeat with dignity, the girl confidently improves her form, preparing for new challenges. The second practical examination center becomes a new arena for demonstrating strength and skill. A dead goblin lying on the floor becomes a silent witness to someone's brutal and swift victory. The tired swing of the sword and beads of sweat on his face indicate that even for an experienced fighter, this battle was not easy. The goblin's furious attack becomes a test of reaction and swordsmanship. A powerful kick sends the monster flying, demonstrating superior strength and technique. A deadly blow from the blade ends the life of the second monster, leaving only a trail of blood behind. The second part of the exam, which focuses on weapons proficiency, turns out to be more important than expected. Demonstrating learned techniques becomes a way for candidates to demonstrate their skills. The absence of a score for destructive force and the focus on technique make the exam more objective. The high score Lee Dongjin received proves his diligence and talent in swordsmanship. Despite his excellent results, there is uncertainty and doubt in Lee Dongjin's eyes. The final part of the exam, monster elimination skills, becomes the decisive test. Different tasks for different ranks. 4 hounds for privates, and 3 goblins for first-rank privates. The brutal and bloody massacre of the monsters demonstrates not only strength, but also ruthlessness. The excellent result of 7 minutes and 26 seconds evokes surprise and respect in the instructor. The heavy sigh and disappointment in Lee Dongjin's eyes indicate that he is dissatisfied with his result. Lack of confidence in his own abilities and constant doubts become the main obstacle on his path. The order to Kim Min-jun to prepare for the test interrupts his comrade's heavy thoughts. The strong determination to become a corporal today and eradicate bad habits fills him with strength. Despite his top score, the instructor is confident that he will have a hard time with such a blunt weapon. For Kim Min-jun, this test is nothing more than a few blows, and he is ready to prove it. Choosing a spiked bat instead of a sword raises eyebrows, but the guy knows what he's doing. His calm and confident appearance in the face of 3 goblins speaks of his complete superiority. A simple yet effective fighting technique based on instincts proves to be far more useful than memorized techniques. Perfectly clearing 3 goblins with 1 blow demonstrates incredible skill and cold calculation. The incredible result, the highest score for the practical part, leaves the examiners shocked and perplexed. Kim Min-jun's defiant behavior and smug posture after his triumph left everyone with mixed feelings. The look of disdain and the thought that he is a reckless bastard betray her true attitude towards him. Congratulations on successfully passing the exam become official recognition of their achievements and the beginning of a new journey. The special mention of Kim Min-jun, who became the hero of the day, caused a storm of emotions and discussions among everyone. A friendly pat on the shoulder and congratulations on rapid progress become a symbol of recognition. The battalion commander's joy at the fact that not a single private first rank passed the exam with flying colors seems strange. General jubilation and congratulations on successfully passing the exam create an atmosphere of celebration and unity. His smug smile and offer to watch how the children are doing reveal his arrogance. Li Dongjin's embarrassed smile and polite response conceal tension and the anticipation of a trick. A sinister grin and an offer to start training immediately upon returning do not bode well. Song In-seo's thoughtful gaze, watching him from afar, speaks of her hidden interest and rivalry. The girl did well in the agility test, but it wasn't enough to win. The realization that she has passed the promotion test becomes for her only a reason for further growth. Her determination to take this opportunity to apologize for her rudeness speaks volumes about her honesty. The unexpected and rude intervention of another soldier interrupts her thoughts, returning her to reality. The furious shout and threat not to touch her again shows that she will not tolerate disrespect. The confident and graceful gait of a girl heading to the bus speaks of her strength and independence. The contemptuous thought that he is a complete idiot reveals Song In-seo's true attitude towards the annoying soldier. His friend's playful teasing about the girl being interested in him makes Kim Min-jun feel embarrassed. The calm explanation that she provoked him and he just played along doesn't sound very convincing. Furious accusations that he abused the girl of his dreams are raining down on the guy from all sides. The unexpected admission that she is not his type only causes bewilderment and laughter among everyone. Persistent questioning about his ideal type of girl forces him to finally reveal his secret. Lumi's firm and confident voice becomes the answer that no one expected or could understand. The complete bewilderment on the faces of the comrades and the question of who Lumi is hangs in the air. The realization that no one knows about the greatest beauty from his favorite game leaves him shocked. The lieutenant's return with bags full of food comes as a pleasant and unexpected surprise to everyone. Sincere gratitude for the treat and the recognition that it was all thanks to him fill the barracks with joy. An admiring exclamation about 3 stripes on the shoulder straps and the prospect of becoming a sergeant sounds like the best praise. A sudden order to gather in the hall interrupts the festive mood, foreshadowing new trials. The bewilderment and alarm on the soldiers' faces indicate that they did not expect such a turn of events. The calm explanation that he had finished his report about the dinner sounds like a mockery. Suspicions that the beer brought by the sergeant is not intended for everyone provokes anger among the senior soldiers. The news that this is a gift from the company commander to Kim Min-jun leaves everyone in a state of shock. The realization that the sergeant knew about his potential from the very beginning makes the bully seethe with anger. Under cover of night, 2 soldiers go out into the street, preparing for a secret and dangerous sortie. The command appears, and a surge of dark energy becomes the beginning of a new, unknown ritual. The appearance of a small and harmless-looking familiar becomes the first step in the implementation of a secret plan. The casual greeting conceals a sinister intention and cold calculation. The good idea to use this baby for his own purposes comes to the young man completely spontaneously. The knowledge that he needs a hitman and the sinister smile speak of his ruthless intentions. The little familiar receives its first and most important role, to gather information on behalf of its master. Strict orders to keep an eye on high-ranking officials and not miss a single detail become his main task. The special attention paid to incidents involving demonic energy reveals the youth's true intentions. Successfully creating a shadow ball becomes the first step to restoring lost power. The reminder that the familiar cannot be captured highlights its ideal suitability for espionage. Concern for the fate of the squad in case his little spy is discovered makes the guy be more careful. The false excuse that he hasn't had a beer in a long time becomes a cover for his night out. An awkward attempt to hide his condition and pretend to be drunk only arouses suspicion in his comrade. Memories of the past, when even a drop of alcohol was purified by magic, make him be on guard. A simple congratulation on a promotion becomes the beginning of a new, more difficult stage in his life. His firm promise to continue working hard conceals his true, ambitious goals. The warning that he won't be here long and the advice to finish his beer sound like a farewell. Relief that his comrade did not suspect anything allows him to continue on his way with greater caution. The longer he watches his new acquaintance, the more he seems to him like an ordinary soldier. Despite all its simplicity, there is something about it that makes Kim Min-jun like and respect it. The feeling that he was born ready speaks to his incredible adaptability and hidden potential. The idea of killing all the participants, of whom only one made it through, speaks to the cruelty and ruthlessness of the system. Corporal Kim Min-jun's new record of 4 seconds seems completely impossible. The genuine laughter and interest in this guy from the very beginning reveal hidden motives and long-term plans. The incredible result, which exceeded all expectations, and the reminder of his feat at the fuel depot only increase the intrigue. The fact that he was the first to act in a critical situation speaks volumes about his leadership qualities. His rapid promotion to corporal in less than a month and his extraordinary records make him a true phenomenon. The general's penetrating gaze and the thought that the entire corps will soon know about him foreshadow big changes. The hint of a special squad of hunters and the question of faith in his abilities sound like an invitation to join the elite. The confidence that he feels his potential becomes decisive in his destiny. Among the countless hunters, there are monsters that form the backbone and hope of the entire army. Facing a horde of monsters in a dungeon becomes another routine task for Kim Min-jun. A sinister smile and anticipation of battle indicate that he is ready for any challenge, even the most dangerous. A thoughtful question about his condition after drinking shows that even in the harsh army there is room for friendship. His confident answer that he is completely fine only causes his comrade to admire his monstrous endurance. Meeting other soldiers and asking about their well-being creates an atmosphere of camaraderie and mutual support. The relief after a hard workout and the feeling of complete order in his body speak of his incredible physical fitness. The awkward admission that he hasn't had a chance to visit a training room yet is surprising. Allowing him to use the hall at any time and being reminded of his new rank of corporal is a well-deserved reward. The urgent advice to try a virtual reality device sounds like an invitation to a new, unknown world. The word virtual reality shocks and perplexes Kim Min-jun, opening up new horizons for him. The anticipation of the virtual reality training he has heard so much about fills the young man with excitement. The door to training hall number 2 becomes a portal to a new, unknown world for him. With childish curiosity, Kim Min-jun studies the interface, preparing for his first virtual battle. Choosing an orc as the first opponent indicates his desire to test his strength immediately. The system limit of 30 monsters only causes the guy mild bewilderment. The ability to choose weapons and equipment comes as a pleasant and unexpected surprise to him. By putting on the helmet and holding the controller, the young man is completely immersed in virtual reality. A lone figure against a desert landscape creates an atmosphere of epic and dangerous adventure. The sudden appearance of a horde of enraged orcs becomes the first real test of strength. The mad grin and anticipation of the fight indicate that he is ready for this bloody battle. The realism of the sensations and the adrenaline from the blows fill him with delight and a thirst for battle. A crushing blow from the bat shatters the orc's head, demonstrating incredible power and cruelty. With wild laughter and screams, the guy rushes into the thick of the battle, enjoying every moment. A quick and easy victory leaves behind only a feeling of slight disappointment and a thirst for more. The thought that there were only 30 of them annoys him, because he was prepared for more. The choice of new opponents, stone golems and lizardmen, promises a more challenging and interesting battle. A sinister grin and words about real monster hunting indicate his readiness for a new challenge. The new horde, consisting of different types of monsters, becomes a real feast of power for him. The contemptuous question of whether they have finished their meeting sounds like a challenge thrown in the face of the enemy. With a scream, Kim Min-jun charges single-handedly against an entire army of monsters. The mad scream betrays his unhealthy passion and thirst for blood. The crushing kick to the golem's head demonstrates its incredible strength and ferocity. Easily dodging attacks, he continues his deadly dance across the battlefield. A whirlwind of blows, sweeping away everything in its path, turns the battle into a real bloody spectacle. The mountain of corpses left behind becomes a silent testimony to his overwhelming power. The end of the simulation and a satisfied smile on his face indicate that he got what he wanted. The feeling of incredible experience and adrenaline makes him admit that it was amazing. The enthusiastic thought that this is the best game after his favorite one speaks of his gaming addiction. The sudden appearance of a system window and the creation of a new skill only leaves him puzzled. The simplicity and unexpectedness of acquiring a new skill seems too good to be true. The thought that he didn't even expect to gain weapon skills makes him genuinely surprised. Knowing he can gain skills without going into dungeons opens up new possibilities. His determination to come here more often to master other types of weapons speaks volumes about his ambition. The unexpected appearance of Li Dongjin interrupts his thoughts, returning him to the harsh reality. The shocked look and trembling voice of the comrade indicate that he has witnessed something incredible. Disbelief that he single-handedly defeated all the monsters is mixed with admiration and fear. The awkward attempt to hide one's true strength behind an innocent smile doesn't look very convincing. The suggestion to have a small talk in the gym does not bode well. The confusion on Li Dongjin's face and his question indicate his complete lack of understanding of the situation. The sinister smile and the words about him going to train sound like an invitation to a duel. Li Dongjin's awkward attempt to stop his comrade, who he thinks is still drunk, is comical. The perfect results of the simulation, where all 90 monsters were destroyed, shock the instructor. The bodies of veteran soldiers, defeated in fair combat, scattered around the room become silent testimony to his strength. Kim Min-jun's absence and the news that everyone had gone to get snow removal equipment are puzzling. The information that Corporal Kim Min-jun went to the gym before the schedule started sounds like a challenge. The realization that he accidentally called him corporal in front of the sergeant sends a chill through the private. The sergeant's icy calm and the order to tell Kim Minjin that the commander is looking for him do not bode well. The panicky desire to leave as quickly as possible before the sergeant changes his mind makes the private start running. The relaxed atmosphere in the room and the idleness of the old-timers contrast sharply with the general bustle. The casual invitation to join them and the question about his whereabouts sound clearly mocking. Wagering half a year's salary in a debate about whether such crazy shit is possible raises the stakes. Their smug laughter and confidence that such a thing is impossible speaks of their complete ignorance. The recognition that this son of a bitch is far from ordinary comes as a bitter revelation to the sergeant. The mocking advice not to say later that he was not warned sounds like a final ironic warning. His furious shouting and accusation that he won't be able to take her back reveal his jealousy and impotence. The idea that this bastard is even crazier than he is speaks volumes of his hidden admiration. Rope training becomes another way for Kim Min-jun to test the limits of his strength. The dumbbells casually thrown to the floor, and the complete lack of fatigue speak of his incredible endurance. Frustration grows as even the most grueling workouts fail to produce the desired results. Memories of the passive skill from Iceguard, which increase strength by 150%, give hope. The thought that there is nothing in this world that resembles the power of the returned hero makes him disappointed. The sudden creation of a new skill and an increase in the stat by 5 units comes as a complete surprise. The realization that he can improve his basic skill fills the young man with delight and new hopes. A sudden call to the platoon commander interrupts his joy, returning him to the harsh reality of the army. His crazy smile and eyes burning with a thirst for new skills reveal his obsession with power. The bewilderment on the face of his comrade, observing his strange behavior, only increases the comical nature of the situation. The official arrival at the administrative office marks the beginning of a new stage for Kim Min-jun. A friendly greeting and invitation to the psychologist's office indicate the informal nature of this meeting. The question about his life as a corporal in the past week sounds like the beginning of a long and important conversation. The modest answer that everything is wonderful hides a storm of emotions and experiences. The reminder of his feat with the bats and the gratitude for saving the base makes him feel embarrassed. The officer's sincere gratitude and his shy smile create a warm and friendly atmosphere. An important document that an officer hands him becomes the key to his future destiny. A certificate of merit for achieving the highest score on an exam and successfully resolving an incident becomes a well-deserved reward. The news that these achievements will be included on his resume opens up new perspectives for him. The thought that these actions could lead to an unscheduled promotion makes his heart beat faster. The caveat that this award is not easy to achieve, and that only a few have achieved it so early, underscores its uniqueness. The thought of 10 awards and the possibility of getting another promotion makes him giddy with happiness. A sudden alarm and the order to prepare for battle interrupt the joyful moment, bringing everyone back to reality. The news that their platoon has been tasked with clearing the dungeon becomes a new and dangerous challenge. The instructor's confidence that his students can handle it sounds like a challenge to their professionalism. The announcement that they must clear the dungeon marks the beginning of a new dangerous mission. The news that their target is the nest of monster rats, also known as the sewers, is disgusting. The squad, led by Corporal Kim Min-jun, is ready for battle, despite the nastiness of the task ahead. The rat monster's nest dungeon, nicknamed the sewer, becomes a true test of their strength. Although this dungeon is not particularly dangerous, its difficulty should not be underestimated. The news of 200 monster rats living in this place puts everyone on edge. The narrow structure of the tunnels and the impossibility of using firearms make the mission even more difficult. A single entrance and the need to lure the monsters into a trap become the key to a successful clear. The order to prepare bait interrupts the tactical discussion, returning everyone to the fetid reality. The disgusting smell and special equipment only emphasize the vileness of this place. The awkwardness and discomfort caused by the stench force the soldiers to seek refuge in jokes and mutual teasing. The stinking, rotting banana that serves as bait makes everyone feel nauseous. The idea that the monster's foul odor is due to their terrible diet seems quite logical. The order to lay out as much bait as possible becomes the signal to begin the luring operation. The eerie silence and the mountains of bones lining the cave floor create an atmosphere of mortal danger. An alarming cry from the entrance about approaching monsters makes everyone prepare for battle. A sharp order to prepare for battle becomes the signal for the beginning of a bloody and brutal fight. The panicked order for the privates to retreat to the rear, along with the commander, speaks of the seriousness of the threat. A gamble on who can kill the most rats turns the fight into a deadly competition. A bold offer to argue becomes the last straw that breaks the commander's patience. A huge swarm of monster rats emerges from the darkness, throwing everyone into a state of animal terror. The desperate order to hold position and not break formation sounds like the last hope for salvation. Despite the fear, the squad prepares for battle, realizing that the lives of each member depend on their coordination. Corporal Kim Mungi's deadly swing of his blade becomes the first blow in this bloody battle. The flurry of blows that Corporal Chung Han-sung unleashes on his enemies demonstrates his skill and fury. Sergeant Lee Seung-ho's powerful shield strike sends the monsters flying, buying his comrades precious seconds. The other two commanders, Him Chogyu and Cho Gaiwook, also join the fight, their ferocity and skill equal. The endless stream of monsters emerging from the darkness seems to never end. Kim Min-jun's calm and focused gaze suggests that he is in complete control of the situation. By easily cutting rats to pieces, he demonstrates his overwhelming superiority in combat. Each of his strikes is a work of art, honed by years of training in another, more brutal world. His incredible ability to cover vast areas single-handedly speaks volumes about his unique talent. Focused on his task, he completely ignores what is happening around him, trusting his comrades. The first fruits of his dedicated training are already visible, and this is just the beginning of his journey to the top. The urgent need for another person on the front lines indicates that the situation is getting out of control. An alarming cry about an even larger swarm of rats approaching from the rear plunges everyone into despair. The realization that they are trapped sends chills of terror through even the bravest soldiers. The order to split up and cover the rear becomes a last desperate attempt to survive in this hell. The crushing blow of the hammer, which smears the rat across the floor, shows all the fury and despair of the fighters. The relief that the battle is almost over is replaced by a new, even more alarming premonition. An incomprehensible smell, which could not be detected due to the gas mask, becomes the first signal of danger. The certainty that it is, she makes the soldier rush into battle with redoubled fury. A desperate cry of danger approaching from below makes everyone freeze in horror. A powerful blow from underground sends the soldiers flying, demonstrating the incredible strength of the new enemy. A giant monster emerges from the darkness, its ominous silhouette instilling primal fear. The realization that they are facing a special class of monster becomes a death sentence for everyone. Bones and skulls scattered throughout the cave indicate that this is not the creature's first hunt. The terrifying idea that this monster fed on other rats explains its incredible size. The giant rat towering over the fallen soldier seems like the embodiment of nightmare itself. Animal terror paralyzes Kim Gwang-sik, who cannot even move in the face of death. The desperate cry of his comrade, trying to bring him back to his senses, is drowned out by the roar of the approaching monster. A deadly blow aimed straight at the head seems to leave him no chance of salvation. The unexpected intervention of his comrades who diverted the attack gives him precious seconds. The desperate order to leave as quickly as possible sounds like a last will in the face of imminent death. The giant shadow that covers them becomes a symbol of hopelessness and the inevitability of fate. The monster's unfocused eyes and abnormal growth indicate its mutation and incredible strength. A powerful blow fell on the ground, almost crushing two soldiers who found themselves in its path. Simple and calm, Lee Dongjin becomes a symbol of salvation and hope in this bloody hell. The order to follow him and prepare for battle indicates that Kim Min-jun is ready to accept the challenge. The furious attack of a monster shrouded in dark energy makes everyone freeze in anticipation. The hail of stones that falls from above becomes only a prelude to the real nightmare. A deadly strike, filled with purple energy, demonstrates the full power and fury of the creature. The relief that no one noticed his true strength gives way to new anxiety. An incredible jump and a crushing blow, enhanced by energy, become a complete surprise for the monster. A powerful explosion throws the young man back, but even he cannot stop his furious onslaught. The split skull and death rattle of the monster become the final chord in this brutal battle. Surrounded by dark energy, Kim Min-jun prepares to absorb the power of the defeated enemy. The process of absorbing demonic energy becomes a source of new, unknown power for him. The system notification that it had enough of this crap sounds like a joke. He accepts this new power with great pleasure, preparing for new, even more difficult battles. A heavy sigh and admission of defeat become a bitter but well-deserved lesson for the sergeant. The report of all squads' successful exit from the dungeon and the mention of a special monster create tension. Confirmation that there was only one such monster makes the officer wonder about the reasons. The order to request a task force support indicates that the situation requires serious intervention. The complete destruction of all living creatures on the front lines, from mosquitoes to monsters, creates an ominous silence. Sincere gratitude for saving and recognition of one's own fear become the best reward for the hero. His calm response and the thought that he himself needed to apologize speaks of his modesty. The joy that everyone survived is mixed with relief at a successful outcome. A caring inquiry about his condition and the absence of serious injuries shows true friendship and support. The surprised guy doesn't believe that there isn't a scratch on the man. Dongjin tries to reassure everyone with his confident smile. The tired officer breathes a sigh of relief, but prepares a serious reprimand for the young man. The young man meekly accepts the upcoming conversation, not daring to object. The soldiers busily receive new instructions over the radio. The news of minor injuries among the evacuees brings relief. The good news about Guanxic's condition spreads among his colleagues. A sharp order from the commander cancels the operation at the last second. The boss calls Dongjin to make an official report. The young man is ordered to put all the details of the battle on paper. Dongjin is puzzled over how to explain his victory with a simple fist. The incredible truth makes the young man doubt the trust of his superiors. The officer admits that he himself was unable to discern the details of the battle. The boss's direct question is full of shock and disbelief. The guy's awkward smile tries to hide the improbability of the situation. Minjun gets to the point, asking about the hero's characteristics. The figures mentioned plunge the officer into a state of complete shock. The officer can't get his head around the idea that a private is stronger than him. The realization that the young man is stronger than the sergeants leaves him dumbfounded. The officer laments that such talent is wasted in an ordinary detachment. Dongjin reflects on his past, realizing that the path to the elite would have been closed to him. The boss gives Dongjin some sound advice about his future career advancement. Minjun offers real help and a path for the young fighter to advance. Dongjin confidently declares that his own merits will pave the way for him. The officer respects the guy's choice, leaving him the opportunity to change his mind in the future. The boss's sudden call makes Dongjin turn around at the very exit. Minjun sincerely thanks the young man for saving the entire platoon. Horrible memories of chilling horror reveal the true cost of salvation. The officer's sincere gratitude shows how deeply he appreciates Dongjin's actions. The young man modestly replies that he was simply doing his duty as a soldier. A cunning plan to increase his strength and achievements is maturing in the hero's head. The unexpected offer to join special training sounds like a challenge. The guy pretends to be surprised, trying to hide his knowledge. The enraged colleague cannot believe the newcomer's impudence. Guanxik recalls the strange techniques that made the young man useful. Guanxik, with wild enthusiasm, declares his desire to train together. The colleague's doubts are shattered by Dongjin's malicious grin in the background. The young man cleverly manipulates the rules, pushing everyone towards the decision he wants. Guanxik's sudden apology shocks everyone except the hero of the occasion himself. Desperation forces Guanxik to reveal his motives and sincerely ask for help. A co-worker tries to find logic in what is happening, not understanding the general hostility. Dongjin coldly cuts off the arguments, reminding everyone of subordination and rules. Guanxik accepts his fate with a bitter smile, thanking his saviors for his life. The soldier timidly stops the departing corporal to voice one condition. Dongjin's sly grin betrays his true intentions as he sets a humiliating condition. Guanxik explodes with rage, unable to bear such mockery. Gritting his teeth with hatred, the corporal forces himself to imitate a chicken, breaking his pride. The shocked comrade cannot believe the cruelty of Dongjin, who enjoys humiliation. In a mysterious dungeon, a silent warrior pushes a heavy cart towards an unknown destination. The beautiful stranger looks with approval at the work done by her servant. The mighty gladiator stands silently before his mistress, awaiting her will. The girl senses his inner tension, inviting the warrior to speak out. Fatigue and despair break through in the question of a warrior tired of endless service. The girl's cold response gives no hope for a quick release. A mysterious woman approaches the cart to reveal its secret contents to the world. Her hand touches the fabric, from under which an ominous magical glow emanates. The ancient ritual begins, filling the entire hall with streams of unearthly energy. The powerful heroine prepares a gift for the one who dared to leave of his own free will. The mad gleam in the girl's eyes hints at the terrifying power of this gift. The red-haired guy laments his fate, having traded the dungeon for a construction site. The purple-haired boy doubts the usefulness of their grueling work. The exhausted fighters silently ask themselves the same question about the meaning of their work. The approaching truck does not bode well for the tired squad. A new batch of heavy blocks finally kills the soldiers' remaining hope. The hard routine work of unloading seems endless and pointless. An experienced fighter tries to defuse the situation by explaining the local military jargon. The deceptive lightness of the blocks conceals their incredible weight and mysterious origin. The strategic importance of these fortifications becomes apparent to new recruits. The revelation of the mystery of the origin of the dungeon blocks raises even more questions. Dongjin suddenly realizes that his incredible strength sets him apart from the rest. A colleague is amazed at the ease with which Dongjin handles the overwhelming load. The contrast between the effort of his comrades and the youth's ease becomes increasingly noticeable. The long-awaited command to take a break brings a moment of relief to the exhausted soldiers. An important conversation between the commanders interrupts the rest, hinting at new disturbing news. Rumors of a new dungeon appearing on their territory fill the air with tension. The horrific news plunges young fighters into panic and despair. Panic makes the soldiers beg their commander, clinging to their last hope. The ominous name of the empty dungeon promises hunters unprecedented dangers. Map analysis reveals that this dungeon is anomalous and violates all known standards. The absence of a boss in such a dangerous place only adds to the sinister mystery of this cursed labyrinth. An empty dungeon becomes an ideal testing ground for honing combat skills. Kim Guangsik explains with an air of expertise that this is the infamous maneuver training. Dongjin looks around in confusion, not understanding where the mysterious voices are coming from. A clever thought arises in the young man's mind as he becomes aware of new possibilities. Despair grips the soldiers, but Dongjin remains calm, considering the training useless. Minjun tries to encourage the fighters by promising them a great chance to score points. The word achievement lights a spark of excitement and anticipation in the young man's eyes. Dongjin is excited about a bright future full of awards and recognition. An ominous shadow with glowing eyes appears at the feet of the young man, revealing his dark essence. The young man tries to convince himself of the futility of awards while his strength is bursting out. The guy breathes a sigh of relief, glad that his terrible secret has remained unnoticed. An invisible entity reaches for Donjin's hand, demanding attention and submission. A request for support due to anomalous activity is being discussed at the secret headquarters. The agent reports with alarm a new incident with the gate to Yanga. The loss of consciousness of 2 employees hints at the mortal danger of the new anomaly. A cold order from above changes priorities, leaving the army alone to face the threat. The dark entity writhes on the ground, awaiting its master's decision. Dongjin mercilessly deals with the shadow, deciding to take a well-deserved day off. The young man takes off his military uniform, anticipating a short respite. Looking at a family photo reminds the boy of what he's fighting for. The senior sergeant notices the boy's zeal with a smile, guessing his desire to go on leave. Kim Min-jun accepts the praise shyly, not knowing how to react. The friendly tone gives way to a serious interrogation about the young man's past vacation. The confession of spending the night in an internet cafe only confirms the experienced officer's suspicions. An unexpected gesture of kindness in the form of keys to an empty apartment takes Min-jun by surprise. The young man tries to refuse the generous offer, but the sergeant is adamant in his decision. A note with an address becomes a symbol of care and the best alternative to a homeless vacation. The proximity of the new home surprises the guy, forcing him to seriously consider the offer. A warm farewell leaves Min-jun alone with his thoughts and an unexpected gift. The terrible truth from the personnel file reveals that behind the officer's kindness lay deep empathy for the orphan. Having changed into civilian clothes, the young man resolutely sets out on his secret mission. A lone hooded figure confidently moves through the city streets towards his goal. A phone conversation reveals Min-jun's goal, which is heading to a new dungeon. Superhuman agility allows the guy to sneak into the cordoned-off area undetected. The young man disappears into the shadows of an alley, successfully escaping a military patrol. Before the hero's eyes appears a tempting and at the same time frightening portal to another world. Curiosity drives Min-jun forward, making him wonder about the new monsters within. The young man's irritation betrays his connection with the dark entity that appeared out of nowhere. Without hesitation, the hero steps into the unknown, ready for any battle for the sake of experience. A gloomy forest greets the traveler, and a blade lying on the ground promises a new challenge. Ominous marks on the ground tell the young man about a recent brutal battle. A confident guy boldly calls out his invisible opponent from the shadows. The sudden appearance of a huge monster forces the hero to quickly analyze the threat. The enemy's abnormal size causes bewilderment and anxiety in the young man. The guy prepares for battle, realizing that his predecessor survived by a miracle. The hero rushes into attack without hesitation, putting all his strength into the first blow. A powerful energy strike hits the monster, shaking everything around it. A direct hit to the monster's jaw demonstrates the young man's incredible strength. The incredible force of the blow throws the giant monster back several meters. The unexpected resilience of the enemy arouses the young man's keen interest. The boy challenges the monster, preparing for a decisive and crushing blow. The hero's sly grin suggests that he is in complete control of the fight. The monster uses a sinister skill in an attempt to turn the tide of the battle in its favor. A frantic exchange of blows turns into a test of endurance and brute strength. Even under a hail of blows, the young man does not lose his composure, but only gets more and more enraged. The monster's body's unexpected reaction to the blows makes the hero momentarily confused. The monster's sharp counterattack catches the guy off guard, causing damage to him. After a hard battle, the young man looks at his defeated enemy in surprise. The realization that this monster was head and shoulders above all the previous ones changes his view of the world. With a new weapon in hand, the hero is ready to face opponents of a completely different level. The monster's furious attack catches the guy off guard at the last moment. Cold fury flashes in the eyes of the young man, caught in a death grip. The sudden seizure of initiative plunges the monster into a state of complete shock. Anger over ruined clothes results in a crushing blow of retribution. The final blow shatters the monster's head into pieces, ending the fight. A perfectly executed kick puts a spectacular and brutal end to a fight. The young man stands on the body of a defeated enemy, absorbing his dark energy. Absorbing the monster's dark essence brings the hero new, unprecedented power. The guy eagerly opens the status window to assess the gain he has received. New skills and increased stats confirm the success of his sortie. The joy of acquiring a new skill is replaced by bewilderment about its origin. A sudden revelation reveals to him the secret of acquiring swordsmanship skill. The familiar blade in the monster's back confirms his guess about the previous battle. Kim Min-jun pulls out his weapon, realizing that the monster was wounded before they met. A sudden memory of the shiny object makes him search further. Something strange in the monster's blood on his hand causes the young man great anxiety. A sharp fragment found in the wound turns out to be the key to solving the mystery. A feeling of déjà vu overwhelms the guy at the sight of the familiar silver metal. Ominous sounds from the depths of the forest interrupt the thoughts, foreshadowing a new threat. The appearance of new enemies becomes an excellent opportunity for the hero to test his strength. Kim Min-jun shows off his new dark power with a grin. The devilish smile on the young man's face promises the monsters a quick and brutal reprisal. Deadly tentacles of dark energy rush towards unsuspecting enemies. The young man looks around the battlefield with satisfaction, deciding to tidy things up before leaving. The hero's mad grin reveals his pleasure in the total destruction of his opponents. The guy emerges from the portal, leaving behind chaos and destruction of the dungeon. His confident demeanor and dark glasses highlight the ease with which Minjun cleared the dungeon. The sinister glint in his eyes hints that the real game for him is just beginning. The soldiers stare at the aftermath in stupefaction, not believing their eyes. The satisfaction of a successful vacation is mixed with the anticipation of new battles. The return to the part's bleak atmosphere contrasts sharply with its recent triumph. His colleagues' panic before the upcoming training only amuses Minjun, who knows the truth. The complex nature of the upcoming maneuvers promises to be a serious test for all platoons. The squad rushes forward, ready to meet any unexpected dangers along the way. The fighters draw their blades, peering tensely into the distance in anticipation of the appearance of monsters. The appearance of the first monsters forces the commander to give the order to immediately take up combat positions. For Kim Minjun, this deadly training seems like just a fun pastime. The commander's sharp command opens a barrage of fire on the advancing creatures. The barrage of bullets meets the elastic skin of the monsters without causing them any visible harm. The realization of the uselessness of firearms forces the commander to urgently change combat tactics. The commander desperately orders to switch to hand-to-hand combat. The last remaining creatures turn out to be blood-sucking parasites. Kim Minjun coldly assesses the squad's weakness in the face of the new threat. Desperate Sergeant Lee Sungho launches a suicidal attack on the monster. A powerful kick sends the huge creature flying. The incredible force of the blow stuns his comrades watching the battle. The young man thinks with a grin about how easily he could have ended this fight. The soldiers open targeted fire on the remaining monsters in the air. The team's coordinated work allows them to destroy the remaining creatures in the air. Inspired by the success, the commander gives the order to finish off the enemies in the air. After a heavy battle, the commander announces a short halt to check the equipment. The extreme exhaustion makes the fighters question the normal nature of this training. Disturbing rumors begin to spread that this is no ordinary dungeon. The terrifying truth about the dungeon's boss is finally revealed. A sudden flashback shows the image of a powerful dungeon boss. The boss's sinister grin suggests that this is just training for him. Panic grips the soldiers at the thought of a possible collapse of the dungeon. The commander tries to cheer up the frightened soldiers, because the break is already over. Minjun recalls that this legendary hunter holds the rank of general. The realization of the scale of the threat makes even the self-confident young man nervous. The legendary hunter, Captain Dushik, is hiding under the guise of a wounded man. In the distant past, an old master calmly smokes, awaiting the inevitable. A mighty gladiator returns to his mentor after a long absence. The old man's piercing gaze suggests that he knows the true reason for the warrior's return. The exhausted warrior gives up his sword, admitting his defeat before his cruel mistress. The master looks at the mutilated blade with regret, amazed at the strength of the new monsters. In the center of the dungeon, a huge military camp was set up to gather all the troops. At the headquarters tent, they report an unrealistic number of monsters in this dungeon. The cool-headed Lieutenant Colonel Ko Jong-chol insists on complete control of the situation. Colonel Jong Shin-gyu smiles, hinting at the decline in the combat power of the entire division. The lieutenant colonel feels enormous pressure from his superiors. The sudden appearance of Colonel Lee Ju-bum only increases the tension at headquarters. The officer who entered immediately inquired about the whereabouts of the elusive captain. Colonel Chung laughs heartily, knowing that nothing can stop this man. Lee Ju-bum panics, fearing that his men will become the captain's victims. Ko Jung-chul remembers how the captain left, leaving behind only an ominous promise. The squad leader learns about the final task, which will become the final test. The appearance of the instructor in the role of a wounded man causes bewilderment in the commander. The realization that the division captain himself is standing before him plunges him into a chilling horror. Captain Du-shik, with a predatory smile, asks to take care of him, foreshadowing a cruel test. Lieutenant Kim Chol-min salutes the formidable captain with difficulty. The captain's weight makes the soldiers doubt their ability to carry him. The captain's sudden call makes the squad stop in confusion. The captain's explosive nature manifests itself in fits of rage. Captain Du-shik feigns helplessness and refuses any help. Kim Minjun's sly smirk betrays his understanding of the true nature of this training. The peaceful landscape only conceals the cruel trials to come. Endless waves of various monsters become a real test of strength. Unexpected surprises from headquarters add an element of mortal danger to the training. The captain turns the training session into a real madness by using himself as bait. The arrival of Private Jin Chol-ho brings a touch of inexperience and fear to the squad. The rookie's desperate strike releases an unexpected surge of energy. The powerful attack pierces the giant lizard, proving its effectiveness. Instant triumph gives way to horror at the sight of a new, unharmed enemy. Physical and mental exhaustion knocks the young fighter off his feet. A mortal threat looms over the fallen soldier, leaving no chance for salvation. At the last moment, the mysterious savior cuts the monster in half. Kim Min-jun gains a new skill after easily dealing with the threat. The awareness of one's own growth brings satisfaction and excitement to a young man. A gesture of help in the middle of a battlefield gives birth to a new camaraderie. A desperate one-on-one fight pushes the young soldier to the limit of his strength. A sudden saving blow cuts the monster apart, saving the fighter from certain death. The merciless battle rages on with renewed vigor, turning the training session into a real massacre. Captain Du-shik watches with satisfaction the most intense training session in history. The captain's careless strike demonstrates his monstrous strength and complete control of the situation. The commander desperately tries to raise the soldiers' morale by promising them a well-deserved rest. Confident Kim Min-jun takes on the challenge with enthusiasm, ready for anything. Min-jun's incredible abilities leave a lasting impression on the stern captain. Meanwhile, in another part of the dungeon, another squad is waging its own desperate struggle. The female fighter is breathing heavily, on the verge of complete physical exhaustion. The female squad fights off the enemy onslaught, demonstrating incredible resilience and courage. A powerful blow from one of the girls destroys several monsters at once, clearing the way. The battlefield is littered with the remains of enemies, testifying to the brutality of the battle. One of the girls looks at her partner with admiration, amazed by her strength. The idea that almost all the monsters were destroyed single-handedly seems incredible. A sudden attack knocks down even the strongest fighter in the squad. A heroic last-second rescue prevents tragedy on the battlefield. The sudden fall into the abyss after victory comes as a shock to everyone. The tired squad finally reaches the rally point, hoping for a break. The captain's predatory grin suggests he is impressed with their commander. The commander modestly attributes the success to the entire team, although he himself was at his best. Captain Du-shik decisively puts aside modesty, pointing out his personal merits. The captain's predatory smile promises the commander his undivided attention until the very end. Du-shik jokingly scolds his subordinate, pointing out his mistakes. The soldiers discuss the next part of the training in bewilderment, fearing the worst. An ominous sign with the inscription "Do not approach" arouses anxiety and curiosity among the soldiers. The command to move forward forces the squad to gather strength before a new challenge. The hole discovered ahead causes confusion and a lot of questions among the soldiers. Inexperienced fighters had never heard of the mysterious underground pits. The all-knowing soldier in glasses begins his story about the secrets of this dungeon. The theory of communication with other dimensions through gates seems the most plausible. The idea of endless connection with other worlds boggles the minds of soldiers. Even dungeons have their boundaries, where the connection with other worlds is cut off. A sudden loss of connection at the most inopportune moment can be fatal. The so-called underground pits turn out to be deadly ruptures in space. The question of what awaits beyond the dungeon remains unanswered. The smart guy admits that he himself does not believe in these theories, considering them fiction. The legend of accidentally falling into these pits only increases the fear of the unknown. A sudden jolt interrupts the conversation, causing everyone to turn around in confusion. The girl's unconscious body on the ground becomes a shocking discovery for the entire squad. The soldier reports the situation over the radio, trying to remain calm. The girl, having come to her senses, anxiously asks about the fate of her squad. The news that all her comrades are safe brings the girl great relief. The rescued heroine can finally breathe a sigh of relief, rejoicing at the successful outcome. A serious leg injury threatens her continued participation in training. The commander strictly reminds about the importance of health for any hunter. Notifying headquarters of an injury means the girl's training ends early. The captain's appearance interrupts the conversation. He is interested in the condition of the wounded woman. A report of a suspected fracture confirms the worst fears. Captain Du-shik listens to the diagnosis with regret, asking about the details of the incident. A panicked girl tells her story of falling off a cliff during a fight. The idea that she fell on the edge of the dungeon seems very suspicious to the captain. The captain's sudden question about her name takes the girl by surprise. Hearing the name plunges Du-shik into a state of deep shock and disbelief. The girl embarrassedly confirms her identity, not understanding the captain's reaction. One of the soldiers recognizes his comrade Kim Min-jun in the wounded girl. The thought that Min-jun should be the one carrying her fills the girl with panic. Kim Min-jun can't believe his ears when he hears the order to carry the girl. The captain's menacing roar leaves the young man no choice, forcing him to obey. Resigned to his fate, the boy agrees to carry out the order with a smile. The girl is furious at the humiliating order, but she has no choice. Kim Min-jun reminds her with a cold smile about the price of not training. Having come to terms with the situation, the girl sarcastically asks for help. Min-jun's colleagues watch in amazement at his superhuman endurance. The young man easily lifts the girl onto his shoulders, without showing a drop of fatigue. The commander carefully gives instructions to Min-jun, worrying about his condition. The young man's self-confident answer and his crazy smile only emphasize his strangeness. For Min-jun, this burden becomes another achievement and a source of pride. Captain Du-shik understands that such an action could give rise to unnecessary rumors. The commander tries to object, but helping the wounded is an integral part of the training. Du-shik is furious when he realizes that Min-jun has found a way to stand out again. The girl offers to give up if the burden proves too heavy for him. The girl's surprise at his lightness causes her to have mixed feelings. Minjun's awkward attempt to guess her weight puts the girl in an awkward position. The embarrassed heroine suggests simply keeping quiet to avoid further awkwardness. The girl sincerely promises to repay him for his help in the future. Minjun's dirty joke about her father causes the girl to feel a new wave of embarrassment. Even though it is light, carrying 50 kilograms on yourself remains a difficult task. Captain Du-shik watches the budding relationship with affection. The endless stream of monsters drives the exhausted soldiers to complete despair. A cruel commander with a sadistic grin enjoys torturing soldiers during a hellish training session. The remaining kilometers seem like an eternity, and anxiety grows with every step in the darkness of the night. Corporal Lee Ik-jun and Sergeant Lee Gi-tae exchange smug grins, unaware of the impending threat. A soldier's piercing scream pierces the silence of the night as horror descends from the skies. The shock on the commander's face gives way to a furious order to open fire on the unknown aerial threat. A whole swarm of terrible creatures with glowing eyes and sharp fangs dives down on the defenseless squad. Recognizing the monsters, nicknamed Black Rakes, only intensifies the cold horror in the commander's eyes. A perfectly calm mission instantly turned into a death trap, cutting off all escape routes. Black Rakes do not kill hunters outright. Their purpose is to torture and tear flesh, sowing panic and pain. The dense darkness becomes the sergeant's main enemy, depriving him of the opportunity to protect his men. The hunter's gleaming blades cut through the darkness, but the desperate battle against the endless tide of creatures is only just beginning. Hunter Kim Min-jun calmly assesses the disastrous situation, worrying only about losing points in training. Belonging to a squad of hunters does not give the right to weakness, turning any mistake into a fatal blunder. Doubts are eroding Kim Min-jun's confidence, making him feel like a pathetic deserter. Panic destroys the formation, and the thought of failing the exam becomes more frightening than the monsters themselves. The young fighter desperately clings to discipline, believing that blind obedience to the commander will save the squad. Suddenly, a blue-haired girl picks up the wounded Kim Min-jun and carries him away, causing his comrades to scream. The heroine's actions inspire another soldier, who, in desperation, begs his commander to give him a chance to prove himself. The commander was stunned by the girl's audacity, not understanding what kind of chance there could be when she had a wounded comrade on her back. The humiliation of his own helplessness awakens the will to fight in Kim Min-jun, and the young man decides to act despite his injuries. A colleague in despair demands that the young man come up with some kind of plan. The hero's proposal only causes bewilderment and shock among everyone. The commander reluctantly gives the guy the only chance at his own risk. The girl is tormented by doubts about the wisdom of their crazy plan. Panic grips the squad and a soldier shouts out an order about the wounded. The young man begs the commander to trust him one last time. The order is given to prepare for battle and stand behind the corporal. The officer grins in disbelief, not believing in the power of ordinary bullets. The heroine asks the young man to hold on tight while he prepares his trump card. The girl understands that there is no way back. The wounded cannot be abandoned. The heroine's inner voice calls the guy crazy, but she trusts him. Dark magic flashes in the young man's eyes, revealing his true nature. The guy grins, remembering the basic skills from the starting village. All his magical power is concentrated in one finger. Activating the skill, the hero finally proves that long-range weapons can be deadly. The first shot hits its target, piercing the monster with dark energy. The heroine cannot believe her eyes when she sees the result of the shot. Confidence and cold calculation can be read on the guy's face. The night itself is on his side. The young man unleashes a barrage of magical shots on his enemies. The squad watches in complete stupor as the monsters explode one after another. The hero's crazy smile speaks of victory, but at the same time it scares the pants off. The exhausted squad finally returns to the safety of the base. The soldiers' faces only show immense fatigue and relief. The officer's loud voice announces the successful completion of the mission. The guy's smug grin speaks volumes. The medical team immediately begins examining the victims. A colleague, with tears of joy, thanks everyone for their perseverance. A shared victory brings soldiers together, making them forget the horror they experienced. The commander calls on the squad to gather their last strength for the final push. A grateful colleague approaches Kim Min-jun to tell him something important. Sincere praise sounds like recognition of the young man's incredible courage. Kim Min-jun is embarrassed by the praise, although he understands that it is deserved. The girl asks the guy to finally put her down on the ground in front of the medic. The heroine apologizes for her helplessness, sincerely thanking for the rescue. A teammate rushes to calm the girl down, denying her guilt. The loud laughter of the bearded officer echoes throughout the base. The commander's eyes are filled with a spark of triumph at the success of his men. A sudden blow takes the soldier by surprise right in the middle of the celebration. The commander admits that all the credit goes to one single guy. The appearance of the colonel's woman foreshadows a completely new turn of events. The colonel calmly assesses the wounded girl's condition, not missing a single detail. The evacuation order is clear and commanding, leaving no time for reflection. The question of the observer's location takes the bearded officer by surprise. Behind the woman's polite smile lies a persistent desire to know the whole truth. The officer's reluctance to talk right now collides with her unwavering determination. Her sinister grin leaves no doubt that the conversation will take place here, and immediately. In the empty dining room, another soldier enjoys a well-deserved dinner alone. The chef offers the hungry Kim Min-jun a whole plate of fried chicken as a reward. The young man's eyes light up with anticipation of the long-awaited feast. This treat becomes the chef's personal gratitude for the guy's incredible feat. The young man happily accepts the gift, so that the cook's efforts will not be in vain. Unexpected praise takes the hero by surprise right in the middle of greedily devouring food. The chef's words highlight how difficult the ordeal was for everyone else. A high-ranking officer observes the life of the base in the silence of his office. The lull in the platoon makes him smile slightly but contentedly. A subordinate reports that the exhausted soldiers have received a well-deserved rest. The thought of hungry soldiers reveals the caring leader in the stern commander. Good news about the platoon's exploits reaches the very top of the command. One of the officers is filled with admiration for the young captain. A careless phrase from a subordinate instantly provokes the wrath of a superior. A deathly silence hangs in the office during the colonel's harsh debriefing. The colonel's woman's actions cause genuine bewilderment in the young officer. The senior officer bitterly admits that the colonel was right, recalling his fatal mistakes. Even a seasoned commander involuntarily admits to a hidden fear of this woman. As they leave, the officers agree that Kim Min-jun has once again become a hero. A serious and difficult conversation is taking place behind the doors of the 104th Division headquarters. The officer's rage contrasts with the colonel's icy calm over a cup of tea. The bearded man's attention switches to the fate of the wounded Private Song Bin-so. The colonel reports that the wounded girl is recovering quickly and will return soon. The mention of the girl's father is interrupted by a sharp and unexpected phone ringing. A familiar address on the phone immediately irritates the officer. The voice on the other end of the line sounds painfully familiar, and therefore even more insolent. Recognition in the bearded man's gaze replaces anger with complete amazement. The mysterious interlocutor turns out to be none other than General Sun Tae-ho. The general's menacing grin leaves no doubt about the seriousness of the upcoming conversation. Officer Do Seok-hyun bursts into tears, unable to contain his indignation. The general ignores the anger with icy calm, getting straight to the point. The general hits where it hurts most, hinting at the injury of his own daughter. The general's unprofessional behavior causes real shock in the colonel. The general, under the guise of physical training, issues a direct challenge to Do Seok-hyun to a fight. The general's ridiculous challenge completely infuriates Do Seok-hyun. The officer tries to appeal to common sense, but is met with a deaf wall of paternal anger. The general's caustic remark about his personal life hits where it hurts most, making the blood boil. An explosion of uncontrollable rage shakes the office. The officer is ready to rush to the meeting right now. The demand to stay put sounds like a direct challenge that the bearded man does not intend to ignore. Injured pride forces the captain to shout desperate excuses into the broken phone. Impotent anger falls upon the table while the person on the other end of the line remains treacherously silent. Colonel Yoo Ji-hae calmly reports that the general simply hung up. Unable to calm down, Do Seok-hyun demands to be connected with the offender again immediately. The girl tries to calm him down, reminding him that her father's anger in such a situation is completely justified. Suspicion flashes in the captain's eyes. He sees real betrayal in her words. Yoo Ji-hae patiently explains that notifying a guardian is standard military protocol. The colonel subtly hints that the influential general would have found out about what happened anyway. The girl suggests changing tactics, and instead of getting angry, try to explain everything calmly. The colonel's arguments make the officer cool down, acknowledging his own hot temper. Yoo Ji-hae takes the initiative to establish a constructive dialogue. The general's voice on the speakerphone sounds cold and wary, expecting a trick. The colonel acts as a go-between, politely explaining the reason for his call. Do Seok-hyun struggles to find words as he tries to take full responsibility for the incident. An official apology sounds like a complete and unconditional admission of guilt. The general isn't interested in apologies. He just wants the name of the guy who saved his daughter. The father's anger clouds his eyes, and the general demands that the young man be handed over for reprisal. An unexpected call interrupts a tense conversation, adding intrigue to a difficult situation. A sudden revelation causes the captain to jump up, realizing the general's true motives. The colonel tries to reason with the captain, who is no longer in control of his emotions. The decision has been made, and the order to prepare the aircraft sounds like a declaration of war. The colonel's confusion suggests that the situation has completely gotten out of control. The captain's furious gaze leaves no doubt that he is ready to rush to Daejeon for his soldier. The colonel, in despair, realizes that he is dealing with two stubborn idiots. Blissfully unaware, Kim Min-jun enjoys a moment of peace after a hearty dinner. A mysterious little demon suddenly appears from the shadows, disturbing his privacy. The hero's irritation flares up instantly, and he roughly grabs the annoying familiar. The young man sternly scolds his companion, reminding him of the main rule of their secret. The familiar tries to justify himself, but the boy explains that even the hint of risk makes him nervous. The demon absorbs the dark energy emanating from its master's hand. A clot of concentrated darkness appears from the familiar's mouth, arousing the boy's curiosity. The incredible power of this energy amazes the young man, because it is capable of destroying even stone. A sudden vision reveals the cause of his unrest. Demonic energy is once again felt in the city. The realization hits like thunder, as the tracks lead to Hwacheon, the site of his last battle. Praising the familiar sounds like recognition, his unique skill has once again proven invaluable. Kim Min-jun frantically goes through his options in his mind, trying to find the perfect excuse for a secret sortie. The sudden announcement of a vacation seems too suspicious to the guy, capable of destroying the entire conspiracy. The young man enters the barracks, remembering his last trip to Yanga as a well-deserved reward for his hard work. The hero's comrades in arms immediately surround him, vying with each other to congratulate the corporal on his title as the division's best soldier. Personal accolades pale in comparison to the main news. Thanks to the leader's success, the entire platoon received a long-awaited rest. Instead of the expected joy, his comrades see panic on the soldier's face and hear a sharp, incomprehensible refusal. Kim Min-jun quickly puts on a carefree smile and justifies his desire to simply get some sleep, hiding his true intentions. A group of hunters are forced to carry out routine disinfection of city streets after a monster invasion. The dark spirit belches out magic contentedly, while the tired soldier irritably dreams of a speedy end to this endless shift. The guy is perplexed as to why the command sent such a crowd of elite fighters to do a routine cleanup. The girl groans loudly from fatigue, cursing the moment when the monsters decided to crawl out. The brunette coldly reminds her friend that the captain was furious about the disastrous results of the maneuvers, and punished his subordinates in this way. The sensible warrior advises her partner to be glad that the squad was not sent into the strategic team's zone of operations. A familiar male voice suddenly calls out to Sun Yun-seo, showing genuine concern for the girl's condition. The private winces in surprise and turns around sharply, trying to hide the traces of fatigue on her face. The hunter, with warmth in his voice, inquires about the completion of the treatment, and persistently recommends that his colleague take care of his health. Embarrassed by such attention, Sun Yun-seo blushes and quietly thanks the young man for his concern. The partner standing nearby falls into a stupor, watching as the dirty work gives way to a romantic scene. The surrounding fighters begin to whisper, recognizing the new arrival as the famous hunter from their division. The old acquaintance stares at Kim Min-jun with horror and anger, not understanding the reason for the rival's appearance in this place. Confused, Song Yun-seo demands an explanation from Kim Min-jun as to why he was in the territory assigned exclusively to her battalion. The female fighter, full of suspicion, almost accuses the guy of desertion, because no one in their right mind would work during their legal vacation. Having studied the leave certificate, the heroine is surprised to see the truth of the young man's words, while he is indignant due to total mistrust. The warrior continues her interrogation, trying to understand the hunter's motives for appearing in the restricted area, while the young man frantically searches for a convincing excuse. Kim Min-jun feigns seriousness by claiming to have come to help after noticing an emergency, though his true intentions remain hidden. Suddenly, the air behind them begins to crackle and distort, heralding the opening of a new portal into the world of monsters. Sun Eun-seo screams in horror, not believing her eyes, because the gates opened right behind them. The heroine's friend becomes hysterical at the realization that the endless cleaning will start all over again as soon as they finish the previous one. The brunette quickly pulls herself together and gives the order to immediately evacuate and report the situation to the platoon commander. The girl panics and urges Kim Min-jun to leave the dangerous place quickly, not realizing the guy's true strength. The hero, with a devilish grin, announces that he will stay to single-handedly hold back the onslaught of the creatures and buy them time. Sun Yun-seo looks at the hunter's back in shock, not understanding what kind of game this self-confident guy was starting. The thought flashes through the girl's head that the appearance of even one monster will put the lives of all the soldiers in the area at risk. A young man with a disarming smile asks to borrow any weapon and promises to escape at the slightest danger. Kim Min-jun coldly remarks that the girl is just getting in the way, and insistently demands that she leave. The warrior reluctantly hands the weapon to the fighter, still doubting his plan, but submitting to the young man's inexplicable confidence. Sun Eun-seo, with a heavy heart, promises to return as soon as possible with reinforcements and rushes away. Left alone, the hero concentrates his energy, preparing for the upcoming battle with unknown creatures. The guy remembers that some types of monsters prefer not to leave their underground lairs if there is a gate. Especially pack creatures like dark dogs will not come out, giving the hunter a unique opportunity. A giant demonic boar emerges from the depths of the portal with a roar, exuding an aura of pure malice. Kim Min-jun assesses the emerging threat with icy calm, as if he had been expecting exactly this. The street is instantly filled with a whole pack of enraged boars, ready to tear apart the lone warrior. The hunter greets the monsters mockingly, as if they were simply late for the feast prepared for him. The young man leaps into the air, preparing to deliver a deadly blow from above to the flock. The young man releases clots of dark energy, activating the dark arrow skill in mid-flight. The guy is surprised to notice that the monster's thick skin easily repelled the magical projectiles. Kim Min-jun changes tactics and unleashes all his physical might on the skull of one of the boars, turning it into a bloody mess. The fighter takes out a knife with a predatory grin, hinting that he has something more serious in reserve than brute force. A shimmering net of pink energy envelops the monsters, completely rendering them unable to move. The corporal acknowledges the strength of the enemy's armor, but his gaze is already searching for vulnerabilities beneath it. The warrior unleashes his true demonic essence, activating the terrifying skill Decomposition. Kim Min-jun, with sadistic pleasure, asks the frozen creatures if they like the taste of his dark power. Purple flames consume the flesh of monsters, turning them into dust under the hunter's gleeful gaze. Having destroyed the first wave, the hero prepares to use his blade, anticipating the continuation of the bloody harvest. The energy cage flares up again around the fighter, demonstrating complete control over the battlefield. The young man's gaze is riveted to the portal, where new victims for his deadly abilities are still hiding. In the midst of the battle, a woman's scream is heard calling the hunter's name, and the atmosphere of triumph is instantly destroyed. The hero turns around in horror, not believing that the squad led by Son Yun-seo returned so unforgivably quickly. An old enemy in a beret roughly grabs the corporal by the shoulder, demanding an answer for the massacre he has caused. Lieutenant Choi In looks over the corporal with concern, afraid to find even one wound on the hero's body. The girl cannot believe the dedication of the guy who decided to single-handedly hold back the monsters to save his comrades. A squad of warriors gazes in awe at the mysterious hunter, whose strength seems simply inhuman. The commander demands that Kim Min-jun immediately introduce himself, trying to figure out the identity of this mysterious savior. The lieutenant studies the leave form with distrust, not understanding why the soldier needed to go into the thick of things on legal leave. The young man concocts a plausible story about urgent business in Hwachin to conceal his true mission. Choi In decides to leave the interrogation for now, announcing a withdrawal before the strategic group takes control of the territory. Enthusiastic girls surround the corporal, showering him with compliments for his incredible victory over the 5 red boars. Annoyed by the intrusive attention, Kim Min-jun mentally asks his fans to leave him alone. A phone call interrupts the routine at headquarters, and the name Kim Min-jun makes the officer tense. The person on the other end of the line confirms with growing astonishment the identity of the corporal, who is on official leave. The officer explodes with indignation, unable to believe that the hero who single-handedly defeated the Red Bulls is now engaged in community service. That night, the lieutenant reports by telephone that the situation has been completely stabilized and that her unit is cleaning up. A young man with a gloomy look goes about his routine work, encountering such an unusual form of gratitude for the first time. One of the warriors discusses with her friend the incredible fact that their savior is helping them on his day off. The girl blushes, imagining the noble act of the hunter who sacrificed his personal time. The friend tries to bring the dreamer back to Earth, reminding her that the attack force of these monsters is comparable to being hit by a truck. The hero curses the unfortunate set of circumstances, but consoles himself with the thought of the impeccable reputation he has earned. An awkward movement of the instrument almost ends in injury for the blue-haired stranger, causing the guy to cry out in fright. Kim Min-jun breathes a sigh of relief after avoiding an accident, while the furious girl glares at him. Kim Min-jun panics and tries to push the stranger away, demanding that she make way for him. The blue-haired girl calmly stops him, insistently offering a serious conversation. The irritated corporal coldly asks what this strange warrior needed that was so important. The female fighter suddenly recalls an old incident when a young man shouted at her from a bus window. Complete bewilderment is reflected on the face of the hero, who has absolutely no memory of this strange event. The hunter, with a cheeky grin, denies the accusations, claiming that he simply promised to give someone a beating. The warrior humbly admits her guilt in that skirmish and apologizes for the belated apology. The young man does not understand why the situation is being complicated and why he resorts to unnecessary lies. Kim Min-jun interrupts her remorse, suggesting that they forget about everything and just go their separate ways. A stranger stops a guy, telling a legend about a private who passed a promotion test with the highest score. The corporal freezes in confusion, trying to understand why this story is addressed to him. The young man asks again in bewilderment who they are talking about, still not grasping the essence of the conversation. The girl proudly reveals the main secret. That legendary soldier was her father, a division captain. She shares her innermost thoughts, explaining that she joined the army to follow in her father's unique footsteps. Kim Min-jun is struck by an incredible revelation. The girl's father is the same Sunbai who was the first to achieve his cherished goal. A shocking thought flashes through the hero's head. The captain went to serve as a private after waking up as a hunter. The warrior dispels his suspicions by explaining that in his youth, her father was considered too weak for the army. Awakening gave him not only strength, but also the chance to fulfill his dream, to become the protector of his family. An overwhelming desire to immediately meet this living embodiment of a legend flares up in Kim Min-jun's soul. The blue-haired beauty happily offers to arrange a meeting, confident that her father will be happy to meet her. Night silence envelops the headquarters of the 107th Division, an elite school where the country's best hunters are forged. The commander of the 3rd Battalion, Lee Sang-jin, is seething with rage, unable to contain his contempt for his counterpart. Captain Song, with icy calm, asks his opponent why he needed Kim Min-jun's name, causing him to burst into uncontrollable anger. Commander Du grits his teeth, confident that he could have found out everything without his rival's unsolicited help. The brutal clash between the two commanders escalates, turning the training hall into an arena for a deadly battle. The subordinate watches the fight in horror, realizing that this is not a friendly brawl, but a real war. A mad rage overwhelms the opponents, and it seems that no one can stop this bloody madness. The graceful warrior easily dodges the crushing blow, boldly entering the epicenter of the battle. Lieutenant Yu coldly announces the end of the 5-minute sparring session, demanding in an authoritative tone that the fight be stopped immediately. The wounded commanders exchange hateful glances, making it clear that the real fight is yet to come. The training hall, destroyed to the ground, eloquently testifies to the monstrous strength of the two military leaders. The girl reports to Commander Du that his rival has successfully completed clearing the territory of the Red Bulls. The bearded commander reluctantly acknowledges the enemy's successes, not forgetting to praise his loyal subordinate. After the lieutenant leaves, the two rivals remain in silence, recovering from the grueling battle. Captain Song breaks the silence by asking directly about the real reason for the visit that led to such a destructive duel. Commander Du bluntly declares his intention to promote Kim Min-jun to the rank of sergeant, laying his cards on the table. Captain Song explodes with jealousy and anger, accusing his rival of bragging about the guy who dared to get close to his daughter. The girl's father cannot come to terms with the idea of such a rapid rise of a simple corporal, suspecting something is wrong. The bearded commander declares with unshakable confidence that this is only the first step on the path to turning the young man into an officer. Captain Song grins, anticipating the uproar that such an unprecedented and provocative promotion would cause. Captain Song grimly warns that the elite Chogu-Kak Chul squad will not leave the talented young man alone, having their own plans for him. Commander Du, with fury in his voice, demands that his rival immediately join his faction in order to protect their common protege. Captain Song, with cold determination, rejects the alliance, declaring his intention to personally evaluate the young fighter's potential. Under cover of night, the Hwachin squad continues its mysterious mission in the mountains, unaware of the events to come. Suddenly, Kim Min-jun's familiar appears in front of him, pointing to a clot of dark energy in the forest. From the clouds of demonic magic emerges a sinister hooded figure, concealing its face and true intentions. The enthusiastic warriors shower Kim Min-jun with thanks from the bus window for their collaboration. The beauty coquettishly invites the hero to have dinner together, irritating her friend. A sensible brunette stops the attempt at flirting, clamping her mouth shut and reminding her of propriety. The little familiar looks at his master with bewilderment, awaiting further instructions after the detachment's departure. The corporal looks at his assistant with annoyance, lamenting that the appearance of these demons has ruined all the plans. Suddenly, the familiar begins to gesticulate frantically, trying to warn the hunter of the impending danger. The hero suddenly senses the presence of a being whose demonic energy goes beyond all measurable scales. The young man's face lights up with a predatory smile as he realizes the true purpose of this mysterious territory. A triumphant guess pierces the corporal's mind, and he eagerly rushes to search for the source of power. The hunter, along with his familiar, rushes towards the vortex of dark energy that was his original target. The mysterious cloaked stranger utters one word with anticipation, ending his long search. The hood falls, revealing the face of a handsome gray-haired young man with a piercing, loving gaze. The young man in the cloak rushes towards his idol with an enthusiastic cry, causing the corporal to fall into a fit of uncontrollable rage. Kim Min-jun roughly pulls his subordinate to his feet, angrily demanding an answer as to why he disobeyed a direct order and risked his life. The gray-haired youth, with tears in his eyes, babbles the name of his master Minold. The memory shows a brutal battle between a dark mage and a winged manticore. The monster's chest explodes from a concentrated blast of deadly magic. Minold squeezes the clot of energy, perplexed by the appearance of a person in this place. The dark magician looks in surprise at the defeated but somehow familiar young man. Minold baffles the stranger with an unexpected compliment on his beauty. The gray-haired magician is shocked that his savior does not know who Minold is. Li Bonggu proclaims the hero to be the hope of all black magicians, leaving him in shock. The dark mage looks with disdain at the weak follower, not understanding his status. Minold coldly advises the nameless mage not to venture into such dungeons again. The departing savior suddenly turns around to ask the name of the boy he saved. The gray-haired young man sadly admits that he does not have his own name. Minold, with a devilish grin, promises the weak magician to personally give him a name. Kim Min-jun shakes Li Bonggu in anger, demanding an answer for his reckless act. Li Bonggu's doubles lament the betrayal of their leader, who abandoned the order on the brink of death. The corporal explodes with anger, not understanding why it was necessary to warn the fanatics. The hero pushes away his subordinate, finally losing patience with his stupidity. Li Bonggu declares himself the master's right hand, causing the corporal to become enraged again. Kim Min-jun's hand flares with dark energy, healing the subordinate's limp body. A grateful Lee Bong-gu vows eternal loyalty as the hero demands a full accounting. Lee Bong-gu, with fanatical devotion, explains his move by the power of his faith in Manold. Kim Min-jun irritably dismisses this crazy idea, demanding that he stop talking nonsense. The corporal looks at his subordinate with distrust, suspecting that the same saint is behind this. The hero, in a rage, lashes out at Lee Bong-gu, threatening to kill him for evading a direct answer. The gray-haired magician finally admits that after the master left, he began to follow the saint. The Dark Mage recalls the ominous rumors that surrounded the temple after Minold's disappearance. Strange sounds came from the temple, and people whispered about catching giant monsters. Lee Bong-gu recalls in horror that traces of the captured creatures disappeared without a trace. No bones, no skin. Nothing remained of the victims of the mysterious night rituals. The subordinate looks at his master with horror, waiting for confirmation of his terrible suspicions. Kim Min-jun confirms the story with icy calm, not seeing anything surprising in it. The corporal begins to suspect that Lee Bong-gu is not who he claims to be. A fragment of a sword appears in the hero's palm, which becomes the key to solving the mystery. The gray-haired mage recognizes the fragment as a blade fragment used by the temple guard. The hero demands an answer to how Lee Bong-gu was able to move without using the gate. Kim Min-jun explains to the naive magician that he almost died in the interdimensional space. The corporal resigns himself to the fact that he is dealing with completely abnormal followers. The hero, looking into the eyes of his subordinate, demands to reveal the true purpose of their order. 1,224 days before returning to Earth, a beautiful woman looks out over a city at sunset. A man approaches her, wondering why they were suddenly called to this secluded place. The golden-haired beauty inhales the fresh breeze with pleasure, enjoying a rare walk. The man sarcastically remarks that for a recluse, such walks are a real event. The girl sadly apologizes, reminding that she is forbidden to leave the temple. The hero, tired of empty talk, directly asks about the reason for their unexpected meeting. The saint reports that several of her colleagues were seriously injured in Farkas's dungeon. Minold is stunned by the mention of a religion that simply does not exist in his world. The girl explains that they are talking about a monster from their home planet, and not about earthly concepts. The hero sighs with relief, realizing that he simply confused the similar-sounding names of the monsters. The dark magician cannot shake off the thought that there is some secret behind all this. He voices his suspicions about the connection between the monsters of Eastgard and the creatures on Earth. The saint confirms his guess, mentioning that the gates and monsters appeared hundreds of years ago. If there is a connection between the worlds, then the suffering of their peoples is caused by the same phenomenon. The girl reinforces her words by saying that the hero entered their world through the same gate. She warns that organizing the movement of a huge number of monsters is not easy. Minold agrees to help, but sets the condition that he will be sent home after completing the task. In the present, Kim Min-jun ponders the information he received from Lee Bong-gu. He recalls that Eastgard had long suffered from gates that caused spatial distortions. Now the corporal understands why the saint spent so much energy sending monsters to another world. He comes to the conclusion that she is using the sacred relics to catch only him. Lee Bong-gu kneels before his master, vowing to serve him until death. Kim Min-jun barely contains his irritation, begging the obsessive fanatic to stop. Lee Bong-gu enthusiastically accepts his new name, promising eternal loyalty to his master. The corporal falls into a stupor, realizing that he himself has nothing to give. The gray-haired magician readily offers his modest services in transforming people into animals. The hero asks a subordinate to turn into a raven to complete a special task. Kim Min-jun, with a mischievous smile, sends the newly minted raven on a flight with the night wanderer. The familiar looks with wild jealousy at his competitor, who has turned into a bird. The raven clumsily tries to speak, causing the corporal to become increasingly irritated. The hero, with a devilish grin, orders his companions to shut up and live in peace. The corporal gives the familiar clear instructions to watch the night wanderer and report back. Kim Min-jun gives the order to disperse, and his two assistants set off on the mission. The hero looks alone at the full moon, watching the raven fly away. A couple of days later, a deafening scream is heard in the barracks, breaking the morning silence. The colleagues are perplexed, observing the strange behavior of their comrade. Two merry fellows watch the unfolding comedy with curiosity. One of the soldiers, with a sly grin, reports that the lists of academic achievements have been posted in front of the administration. Comrades are shocked to hear Sergeant Lee Sung-ho's incredible 75 points. The red-haired guy excitedly announces good news, intriguing his friends. Kim Min-jun enters the barracks, reporting his return from leave. A fellow soldier announces that Corporal Kim Min-jun took first place with 99 points. The senior officer cheerfully greets the third platoon, wishing everyone a bon appetit. Kim Min-jun reports with a strained smile that his vacation has ended successfully. His fellow soldiers look in shock at the new stripes on the hero's uniform, not believing his promotion. The red-haired guy can't believe his rapid promotion. The sergeant major reads an official letter from the division headquarters about the assignment of a new rank. In the flashback, Kim Min-jun's comrades throw him into the air in celebration of his achievements. Two fellow soldiers discuss with envy the bet they made with the newly appointed sergeant. Kwang Shik is horrified to realize that he will now have to salute the former corporal. Kim Min-jun, with a triumphant smile, reminds the losers of his victory. The hero counts the money he has won with anticipation, rejoicing at his luck. Kwang Shik becomes furious when the sergeant demands 30% of his winnings. Kim Min-jun explains with icy calm that he is not doing this for the money. The sergeant lifts the barbell with ease, declaring that he is not angry about their bet. The hero begins a grueling training session for his debtor, demanding full commitment. Kim Min-jun easily adds weight to the barbell, driving Kwang Shik to exhaustion. The sergeant calmly explains that his intentions are pure, and he only wants to help. The frightened comrades try to escape the generous offer of help by refusing to train. The losers thank you for your attention and quickly retreat, leaving the sergeant alone. Kwang Shik sadly watches his departing friends, realizing that he is left alone with the tyrant. Kim Min-jun, with a devilish grin, reminds the debtor that he has no choice. Kim Min-jun interrupts his comrades' escape to ask them for a favor. Frightened soldiers are ready to do anything to avoid grueling training. The sergeant recalls the unfair ban on the use of PX for privates first class. Comrades are outraged by the wild order that reigns in the modern army. Gambling comrades offer each other a bet on who can best circumvent the restrictions. Kim Min-jun coldly puts a stop to their childish behavior, demanding that they stop their idle talk. The hero promises to speak with the sergeants personally, but leaves the rest to his comrades. The soldiers readily accept the offer, assuring the sergeant that they can be relied upon. Kwang Shik listens in horror as he is called into the office, expecting the worst. The sergeant informs the stunned corporal that he is being transferred to the second squad. Kwang Shik tearfully realizes that he will now be able to train with the sergeant. The explosive snake, a dangerous reptilian monster, prepares to attack. This creature spends most of its life underground, waiting for its prey. Unlike ordinary snakes, these monsters do not have poison, but they have another trump card. The reptile explodes before dying, so it is important to get rid of its tail first. A squad of hunters cuts off the monster's tail with one precise blow, avoiding the explosion. One of the fighters imagines with horror what could have happened if the tail had remained intact. The best defense against explosive snakes is considered to be clearing the area, which is what hunters do. The soldier looks in horror at the giant snake looming over him, ready to attack. One of the hunters managed to catch a whole bunch of these creatures in Eastgard. The hunter confidently states that one such specimen will be quite sufficient. The squad leader suggests making a short stop to catch their breath. One of the fighters excitedly discovers a new skill, Agility Leap. The soldier rejoices at the ability he has received, realizing that this dungeon is a real treasure trove. The familiar suddenly turns to its master, interrupting his thoughts. The little helper reports that he has detected a huge amount of demonic energy. Kim Min-jun excitedly clarifies the location of the source, anticipating a new battle. A couple of days later, in Incheon, the Night Wanderer meets his feathered spy. Raven reports that all this time he was only observing, without taking any action. Lee Bong-gu reports that he does not sense the presence of monsters, and that the energy is coming from the dungeon. The Night Wanderer is surprised to learn that a man has appeared in the house that was empty yesterday. The guy is angry that he will have to lure out the soldier for whom he had so hard to get a leave. At first glance, it may seem that a typical break-in is about to occur. In fact, the Night Wanderer is going to steal a dangerous object from a civilian's home. The hero confidently heads towards the house, ordering his spy not to attract attention. The Raven and its owner silently enter the house through an open window. The Night Wanderer looks around the room, looking for what he came for. His attention is drawn to a crystal that exudes pure dark energy. The guy notes with surprise that the crystal has been processed and does not harm the body. Suddenly, a blue-haired girl in a fighting stance appears in the room. A blue-haired girl sits alone on the bed, lost in her thoughts. She reads a message from her mother, who is worried about her. With a smile, hearing a strange noise, the heroine carefully descends the stairs. The girl, furious, demands an answer from the intruder, ready for a fight. The Night Wanderer panics when he realizes that he has accidentally invaded the commander's daughter's home. The Raven and the familiar look at each other in horror, realizing that their master is in trouble. The hero cannot believe in such fatal bad luck and random coincidence. The guy remembers how this girl had already caused him problems in the desert. The warrior angrily orders the uninvited guest to raise his hands up. She rushes at the intruder in a rage, not giving him a single chance. The girl delivers a crushing kick, aiming straight at the opponent's head. A series of lightning strikes falls upon the Night Wanderer, leaving him no escape route. The heroine demonstrates incredible flexibility and fighting skills, attacking with a spinning move. The guy is surprised to note that the girl moves too fast for her rank. He easily intercepts her hand, stopping the attack at the very last moment. The girl looks at her grabbed hand in shock, not believing what is happening. She understands that she is not dealing with an ordinary civilian, but with an awakened one. The warrior attacks with renewed vigor, realizing that her opponent is awakened. The guy easily dodges her blows, moving with incredible speed. The girl realizes that she will not be able to dodge the next attack. The Night Wanderer disappears into the darkness, leaving the girl completely bewildered. The heroine screams in panic after the fleeing thief, trying to stop him. The girl can't believe that she wasn't able to land a single blow during the entire fight. She looks at the note left behind with a mocking inscription in anger. The boy studies the stolen crystal with delight, realizing its incredible value. Raven hesitantly suggests that it might be a monster crystal. The hero scolds his spy for his talkativeness, even though he himself knows the truth. He had never seen anything like it, even in Eastgard, a world of magic and monsters. Monster crystal is a rare mineral that can be found inside some creatures. These crystals vary depending on the age and danger level of the wearer. They all contain mana, the amount of which is proportional to their size. Of all the trophies that can be obtained from monsters, this is one of the most valuable. The hero notes with surprise that he has never heard of crystals with demonic energy. He absorbs the crystal's energy, not understanding how such a thing could end up on Earth. The guy decides not to participate in the Saints' games, but simply to take what he needs. The hero is delighted to receive 2 new skills at once. He decides to test the uniqueness of demonic energy, which is now odorless and colorless. The guy realizes that this is the perfect disguise that will help him remain unnoticed. He is delighted to discover that he has gained the skill to capture demonic energy. The raven, having gained a new ability, sheds its feathers, demonstrating its new strength. The hero realizes that the new ability will help him attract objects from a distance. Kim Min-jun gives his assistants a new task, to find dungeons with demonic energy. The familiar and the raven salute, ready to carry out the order immediately. The guy smiles and invites his new acquaintance to try Korean food. Lee Bong-gu looks at the dishes offered to him in confusion, not knowing where to start. Kim Min-jun angrily scolds his subordinate for his rude behavior at the table. The hero looks with understanding at his hungry comrade, who ate biscuits in Istgard. The guy looks at his phone in surprise, realizing that he has solved the problem with the ban. A group of new recruits undergoes grueling guerrilla training as hunters. Exhausted soldiers lie on the ground while instructors watch from above. One of the fighters runs across the rope bridge with a mad look, trying to complete the task. Another soldier descends a rope from a wall, overcoming his fear of heights. Recruits have difficulty remembering the national anthem and the hunter's credo after hard training. Guerrilla training for hunters had a completely different meaning than in a regular army. This training was not much different from the others, and had already earned a bad reputation. The red-haired soldier sadly eats his dinner, not believing that this is his last year here. His comrade suggests that they were punished because the division commander branded them. The soldier indignantly asks what their fault is if he hasn't even seen this commander. There is a sense of gloom in the tent due to the inconvenience of sleeping and eating in the open. One of the fighters looks at the ominous building with horror, realizing that they will have to go there. Captain Seo Chong-woon, commander of the 2nd Company, 2nd Battalion, arrives for an inspection. One of the soldiers salutes while the commander announces personal time. The captain praises the fighters for their diligence in training and promises them a good rest. He explains that the main purpose of guerrilla training is different. The commander furiously urges his soldiers to carry out all their might in tomorrow's trench battle. The giant fighter easily grabs his opponent, preparing to throw. A brutal battle unfolds on a square field, where everyone is for himself. The giant soldier throws his opponent into the air, demonstrating incredible strength. The fighters beat each other mercilessly, trying to push each other out of the field. The instructor announces the victory of the 1st Division, 2nd Company, 1st Platoon team. Spectators watch trench fighting, which is part of partisan training. Colonel Lee Junbyum watches the fight with interest, noting the strength of one of the fighters. Colonel Jong Cheung-bong recalls that Choi Sung was a corporal and is now a sergeant. The commanders discuss the successes of the fighters, who have already defeated 10 detachments this morning. Lieutenant Colonel Ko Jung-chul is surprised to learn that Sergeant Choi recently passed his promotion exam. One of the commanders reports that the commander of the 1st Battalion is delaying his promotion. He furiously demands an answer as to whether his colleague knew about the upcoming competition. The commander angrily denies that he could have known about the division commander's sudden plans. The lieutenant colonel looks at what is happening with irritation, realizing that this competition is a battlefield for battalions. The instructor announces the next participants, and the battalion commanders prepare to defend their pride. A squad of warriors confidently enters the battlefield, ready for combat. Kim Min-jun looks at his opponent with bewilderment, not understanding his reaction. The fighter, with a sly smile, recognizes his opponent as the famous Kim Min-jun. The hero calmly confirms his identity, without attaching any importance to it. The rival enthusiastically welcomes the celebrity, who rose to the rank of sergeant in the shortest possible time. Kim Min-jun shyly thanks him for the compliment, not knowing how to react. The fighter looks at the hero with disappointment, expecting more from him. Kim Min-jun's comrades furiously attack the insolent man for the insult. The giant soldier easily grabs 2 fighters, demonstrating his monstrous strength. He looks at his opponents with disdain, warning them not to even think about winning. The soldiers are unable to move, paralyzed by the giant's incredible strength. The fighter grins and suggests that his opponents simply apologize and leave it at that. Kim Min-jun's comrades are shocked that such monsters still exist. One of the soldiers, in a rage, rushes at the giant to punish him for his insolence. The hero stops his comrade with a cold smile, anticipating the upcoming battle. A group of girls are relaxing in a tent, preparing for the next stage of the competition. Corporal Chamari asks in bewilderment why they are even participating in this. Corporal Yoon Hyeju explains that they are constantly compared to other battalions. The girl is shocked that they are the only ones who passed the qualifying round. One of the warriors, with a mysterious look, says that she has heard something about this. The girl looks at her friend in horror, realizing that she is furious. The instructor announces the next participants, and the squad of girls prepares for battle. The squad leader confidently declares that they will become the kings of raids. Warrior girls mercilessly deal with their opponents, clearing the battlefield. Two privates, Kim Na-yoon and Ha Chae-bin, find themselves trapped by a giant soldier. The blonde easily throws her opponent into the air, demonstrating her strength. She delivers a devastating blow, knocking out the enemy in one move. The girl looks with contempt at the defeated enemy, who was unable to resist her. A soldier, terrified, tries to escape from a warrior who is pursuing him. He prepares to grab his victim with a lustful smile, not expecting resistance. The girl deftly dodges the grab, preparing for a counterattack. She easily throws her opponent into the air, switching places with him. The warrior reminds him with a grin that she asked him not to follow her. The brunette knocks out her opponent with one precise blow, not giving him time to recover. The soldier screams in panic that he doesn't have enough arms to fight off the two girls. The blue-haired warrior easily sends her enemy flying with one blow. The girl thanks her savior, who helped her in difficult times. The two senior officers watch the girl's skill with amazement. They acknowledge that the role of elders is to carry the younger ones on their backs and simply watch. Two soldiers discuss Choi Seon-woo with admiration, forgetting their duties. Two soldiers confidently declare that this year everything will be different. They look at the lonely girl with a smirk, not seeing her as a serious threat. The blonde is shocked by the incredible force with which the two opponents grabbed her. With one powerful movement, the soldier pushes the entire female squad out of the field. The instructor announces the victory of the 4th Detachment, 4th Platoon, 4th Battalion. Kim Min-jun watches the fight with interest, noting the team's coherence and strength. His comrade comments with admiration on the talent of the winning team. The soldier, with a sly grin, hopes that Choi Sung will lose in the quarterfinals. The two fighters confidently discuss their chances of victory, knowing the strength of their comrades. The girl looks at Kim Min-jun with delight, blowing him a kiss. The hero's colleague asks, confused, whether this gesture was directed at him. The two comrades decide to take advantage of the situation to teach Choi Sung a lesson. They sheepishly admit that they will now root for the 4th Battalion. The commander looks with disappointment at his team, in which he had so much faith. He breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that this is the perfect game for his plans. The instructor announces the next participants in Game 5 of the 1/8 finals. One of the fighters tells Kim Min-jun that he will be given leave for first place. The comrade asks with a grin if the hero would like to go out with them. Kim Min-jun says with a cold smile that it's time to begin. The instructor gives the command to get ready and begin clearing on the whistle. The training turns into a chaotic flight of bodies. The dark-haired guy's gaze remains sharp even in the center of the fight. The brute scoffs at the lack of challenge, his confidence bordering on arrogance. A cunning thought flashes through the hero's head. A secret weapon is saved for later. A dangerous, yet uncontrollable force awakens in the young man's hand, pulsating with a crimson light. An invisible force throws the enemy into the air, leaving them completely bewildered. The hero understands that even a small part of the new power will be enough to turn the tide of the battle. The big guy is completely disoriented, unable to understand what kind of attack has befallen him. The victory is quick and clean, leaving a cold satisfaction on the hero's face. A slight worry crosses the young man's face. The secret of his strength must be preserved at any cost. The full destructive power of the attack sends the enemy flying helplessly into the sky. The qualifying rounds were just a warm-up. Now the team is waiting for the real test to begin. The upcoming finals with the 4th Division creates a depressing atmosphere, making Kwang Shik and Han Young look gloomy. The judge's loud voice breaks the tension, calling the finalists to take their places. Rumors circulate around the mysterious adversary, saying that a former prodigy named Choi Sung-woo has abandoned his path. Despite his past, the fighter's natural talent is undeniable. He is a sleeping giant who once conquered the national championship. The realization of his opponent's true skill level leaves Choi Sung-woo shocked and indignant. The memory of a past clash with Choi Sung-woo explains the heavy tension between the two rivals. The bitterness of the memory is not connected with the defeat itself, but with the humiliating manner in which Choi Sung-woo's team achieved victory. A shocking flashback reveals the brutal truth. The merciless defeat of a girl from the team ignited a thirst for revenge in the hearts of the guys. Choi Sung-woo's victory looks frighteningly easy, as if it was just a warm-up for the guy. The hero understands that formally the opponent is not at fault, since the rules prohibit fighting outside of competition. Memories of the women's team's helplessness ignite a cold rage and thirst for revenge in the fighter's soul. Kwang Shik is seething with anger, ready to teach his impudent rivals a bloody lesson in good manners. The young man bitterly realizes that his hot-tempered friend still has a long way to go to achieve self-control. An icy plan is brewing in the young man's head. He must destroy his enemies without unnecessary emotions and empty threats. Choi Sung-woo smirks and provokes the hero, doubting the boy's courage to go into battle alone. The big man Lee Shin-ho joins in the taunts, hinting at the impossibility of such a fight. The conversation takes a nasty turn when another fighter decides to hit a nerve by mentioning the hero's girlfriend. The team is completely confused, trying to figure out which girl they are talking about. The opponent points to a pink-haired girl from the 4th Battalion, who was enthusiastically supporting the team. Kwang Shik flushes with embarrassment and rage, desperately denying any romantic connection. A comrade tries to explain that Sergeant Kim Min-jung, the terror of underground fighting, is incapable of tender feelings. The opponents burst into mocking laughter, humiliating Kwang Shik and his comrades. For the big guy, this situation seems incredibly pathetic and funny. The guy can't hold back his tears of laughter. The referee interrupts the squabble, calling on the teams to get ready for the start of the final match. The enemy throws out one last insult, promising to go easy on anyone who believes in Rumi's sister's support. The fighter takes a fighting stance, his face distorted by a contemptuous grimace before beginning the attack. The entire enemy team breaks into a furious attack on their opponents. The attacker can't believe his luck, seeing that his target is still reeling from the humiliation. A sudden blow to the head knocks the guy off balance, leaving a painful mark on his forehead. The big guy's face contorts with anger as he clumsily makes excuses, demanding another try. The referee's intervention interrupts the conflict, and a stern warning is given about the prohibition of strikes. The thug's face turns into a mask of pure hatred, and the fighter sentences the hero to death. The young man's cold calm infuriates even the judge, who, in a panic, tries to bring everything back within the rules. A cold fire burns in the hero's eyes. This battle hasn't even begun for him yet. A smug grin appears on the opponent's face, who sees only cowardice in the guy's actions. A flash of crimson energy tears through the air, sending one of the attackers flying out of control. The young man throws back 2 more with one movement of his hand, their screams drowned out by the roar of his power. The enemy team leader watches in horror as his comrades are sent flying from the incomprehensible attack. Kwang Shik's gaze fills with madness. It seems like the guy has completely lost control of himself. The situation is getting out of control, and now the young man is fighting off his own ally, consumed by anger. The brute is at a loss, unable to comprehend the absurdity happening on the field. A dark force distorts the hero's features, turning the guy into a possessed demon with a mad grin. The command, in horror, demands to stop the fighting, but is faced with a bureaucratic obstacle because there are no strikes. The high-ranking officer's anger reaches its limit. Common sense screams that this is pure madness. The officer's face darkens with doubt, and now the man wonders how long he can ignore this chaos. There is growing anxiety among the command, and the responsibility for possible injuries frightens everyone. The female commander, in an icy tone, places all responsibility for what is happening on the judge. A rift is brewing within the team, and one of the fighters is forced to restrain his enraged comrade by force. The brute was completely perplexed, believing that the hero had deliberately cleared the field for a fair fight with the honest. The iron grip on the belt makes the big guy acknowledge the other's strength, but the fighter's self-confidence has not yet left him. The confident grin on the opponent's face shows that for him, technique will always be more important than brute force in this fight. A swift and humiliating throw sends the brute crashing to the ground, shattering any illusion of superiority. The defeated fighter lies in complete shock, his mind refusing to believe the crushing failure of his honed technique. The hero's demonic gaze with burning eyes makes the enemy finally realize the real, mortal danger. The comrade, in a panic, tries to stop the madness, shouting words of surrender to save everyone from the youth's wrath. A merciless throw sends flying even his own ally, who tried to reason with the enraged fighter. The fallen comrade chokes on the ground in pain and shock, unable to understand what made his friend do this. The guy's iron grip doesn't allow the enemy to breathe while the demand for immediate surrender is heard. The terrified thug screams in panic for surrender, desperately trying to break free from the steel embrace. The powerful throw proves that Rumi's little sister is more than just a picture for the young man. The young man's face expresses deep affection as he calls Rumi his favorite character. The helpless body of a comrade lies on the cracked ground, and in his fading consciousness, there remains only a silent question. The referee's loud voice announces the end of the match and the triumphant victory of the hero's team. Kim Min-jun returns to his normal state, awkwardly admitting that he was a little nervous. The team surrounds the winner in complete delight, admiring the incredible ease of this duel. An admiring comrade calls this fight the most spectacular and impressive in many years. Another fighter smiles and approves of the cunning plan that left Choi Sung-woo alone to be torn apart. Kim Min-jun looks with slight irritation at his naive friends, whose interpretation of events is very far from the truth. His unwavering integrity prevents the big guy from justifying violence against his teammates. Bitter disappointment is reflected on the face of Kim Min-jun, who turns away from his comrades. The comrades watch the departing fighter, perplexed by his excessive seriousness. The fighter's inner confidence grows stronger. Any carelessness could lead to defeat at the hands of his successor. The humiliating defeat fuels Choi Sung-woo's determination to get revenge next time. The awards ceremony becomes a moment of recognition of the merits of distinguished soldiers. The officer's gaze is full of pride and honor as he gives the military salute. The awkward excuse about going to the toilet serves only as a cover for the mysterious departure of one of the soldiers. Exhaustive guerrilla training causes a wave of resentment and fatigue in the fighter. The sudden appearance of the huntress girl makes the fighter's heart stop with admiration. The charming stranger, fully prepared for battle, responds to him with a calm and confident look. Snow covers the base the next day, bringing with it a lull after the hard training. A premonition of danger makes one of the guys insist on maximum caution in the upcoming task. A more daring comrade dismisses the fears, proposing a simple plan to lure the target into a trap. Without even having time to rest from training, the guys are already planning a new risky adventure. Time is running out, so the plan must be quick, and the meeting place is ideal for an ambush. His comrade's playful provocation makes the embarrassed Do-jin blush, revealing his secret thoughts. A new message on the phone causes a storm of delighted emotions throughout the entire company. The sudden realization of the possible consequences leaves the boys frozen in an anxious stupor. Doubts begin to torment the conspirators, because their plan seems too strange and implausible. A clumsy attempt to deny what was done fails. The promise made binds everyone hand and foot. Fear of punishment forces the conspirators to hastily retreat, abandoning one of their own. A sudden betrayal by his friends leaves the boy completely alone in the middle of a snowy yard. The satisfaction of training makes Kim Min-jun eager to test his updated stats. The slow growth of characteristics does not upset the young man at all, who is enthusiastically preparing for a new approach. Even a small increase in agility brings a guy noticeable satisfaction during the bench press. A sharp jump in strength by as much as 5 points puts the young man into a state of wild delight. The enjoyment of his own power is interrupted by an insistent call that tears the athlete out of his training trance. The irritation of the interrupted training makes Kim Min-jun sit up abruptly and demand an explanation. A stupid question about food infuriates the hero, igniting righteous anger in the guy's soul. The comrade's despair finally breaks through the wall of anger, forcing the athlete to listen to the alarming news about the unknown energy. The young man's thoughts are confused as he tries to determine the nature of the mysterious energy, assuming that it might be mana. The memory of strange energy from Asgard brings to mind the image of a mysterious, long-haired stranger. An ill-timed mention of food in the midst of an important conversation sends Kim Min-jun into an indescribable rage. An unexpected message from a stranger leaves the guy stumped. He tries to figure out where the girl got his number from. A comrade's panicked cry stops the hero's finger a millimeter from the lock button. The desperate comrade clings to the hero's hand, begging him not to miss the unique chance presented by Song-bin. The pressure on the sense of duty to the unit becomes the final argument in an attempt to convince Kim Min-jun. Complete bewilderment is reflected on the face of the young man, who cannot grasp the meaning in the incoherent flow of his comrade's words. An icy revelation pierces the hero's mind, and in a rage he grabs the traitor by the collar, demanding a confession. A comrade's desperate plea for a joint vacation sounds like a last-ditch attempt to unite the team. The confusion on Kim Min-jun's face turns to suspicion at the mention of Songbin Seo's name. The hero's indignation explodes into rage, demanding an immediate and honest answer. The sinister smile on the young man's face hints at a brutal reprisal right in the gym. A week later, Sunday brings the heroes to a bright and noisy amusement park. His comrade's sincere gratitude makes Kim Min-jun feel uneasy. A flash of anger interrupts gratitude, and the accusation of betrayal hangs in the air. The cold tone of the female officer shatters all illusions. Their presence here is not his merit. A look of embarrassed surprise crosses Jong's face, not expecting such an easy concession from Sergeant Lee Shin-ho. The comrade's sly look hints at the true reason for the agreement. It is better for male company to be in the fresh air. A heavy sigh betrays the sergeant's irritation, tired of the childish behavior of his subordinates. Chan's impatient gaze searches the crowd for the girls from the 4th Battalion, revealing the true purpose of the visit. A shout of excitement draws everyone's attention to the group of female soldiers at the ticket office. The sudden appearance of a man with a stern look and scars creates an oppressive atmosphere. The stranger's frightening appearance arouses suspicion in the boys, causing one of them to instinctively grab his comrade. The tension on Sergeant Lee Shin-ho's face gives way to stern composure. A crisp military salute to the stern stranger leaves everyone baffled. A shocking realization hits the soldiers. The commander of the 107th Battalion himself stands before them. An embarrassed girl tries to drag her commander father away, breaking the strict military atmosphere. A father's warm smile conceals a commander's insight. The desire to get to know his daughter's fellow soldiers seems like just a pretext. Surprise is reflected on the face of the girl soldier, who clearly did not expect such a meeting. The commander's face distorts with rage when he recognizes one of the boys as Kim Min-jun. The girl breaks the tension, urging everyone to quickly go and have some fun. The two comrades enthusiastically take up the idea, assuring that they have chosen the best route for everyone. The blonde girl admits her dislike of noisy amusement parks. Kim Min-jun's unexpected consent surprises the blonde and creates a fleeting feeling of community. A shared dislike of fuss brings the couple closer together, who find solace in talking about working out alone. The rest of the group is having a great time riding the roller coaster. The female soldiers try on funny ears, allowing themselves a little carefree fun. The unbridled fun continues on another attraction, where screams of delight mix with fear. The competitive spirit takes over when a blonde girl challenges one of the boys to an arm wrestling match. One of the soldiers decides to demonstrate his marksmanship at the shooting range by adopting a professional shooting stance. Chong dismisses his comrade's performance with a grin, demanding that he be given the opportunity to show his true class. A friend's misfortune becomes a source of joke when he wins only a strange tomato-shaped toy. Kim Min-jun's eyes light up with a fanatical gleam at the sight of the limited edition Rumi keychain. An irresistible desire to obtain the legendary item forces the young man to grab the rifle with a mad gleam in his eyes. The shooting range worker's remark about 9 shots doesn't bother the confident guy at all. The girls watch the scene with curiosity, pushing the hero to take one more shot to win. An amusement park attendant presents Kim Min-jun with a consolation prize for second place. The tiny keychain in the young man's hands brings a blush to his face and a feeling of boundless happiness. Kim Min-jun shows off his precious keychain with childish joy, introducing himself as a hunter. The girl's anxious question about talking to her father interrupts the moment of triumph. The battalion commander interrupts the hero's day off, calling the guy for a serious talk. The soldier remains calm, ready to listen to any important information from his superior. A sudden test of strength from the commander takes the young man by surprise, but he withstands the test. The approving smile on the commander's face gives way to gratitude for the fortitude shown. The sly hint about the daughter's debt to the hero creates an awkward and ambiguous atmosphere. A valuable item from the dungeon, intended for generals, becomes an unexpected gift for a young soldier. The girl's father gives the hero the artifact with the order to keep the source of this gift a secret. An unexpected invitation to dinner adds another surprise to this strange conversation. The commander's ominous warning of reprisals for any attacks on his daughter casts a shadow over the generous gift. Kim Min-jun disgustedly dismisses the idea of a romantic relationship as he hides the valuable artifact. The girl's concerns about her father's behavior are dispelled by the hero's evasive but reassuring answer. The handed business card becomes a symbol of gratitude and a debt repaid, causing bewilderment in the girl. The confusion on the girl's face reveals her bewilderment at her father's sudden intervention. The sly smile on the young man's face hints at his intention to take advantage of the generous offer on the business card. One of the comrades sheepishly apologizes for the tactless question, breaking the awkward silence. The girl reminds everyone of the recent battle where Kim Min-jun avenged their squad. The desire to thank the savior unites the girls, who compete with each other to offer to treat the hero to lunch. The shocking realization that they were only invited to meet Kim Min-jun leaves the boys completely baffled. The realization of the true reason for revenge, the defense of the virtual character's honor, leaves the comrades slightly perplexed. At the same time, an ominous portal opens in Daejeon, disturbing the peace of the city. A black raven with glowing purple eyes becomes a harbinger of things to come. The military's concentration at the portal underscores the seriousness of the situation. Every step is under control. A shocking report about a magical stone weighing 100 kilograms leaves Colonel Lee Seo-jin incredulous. The sinister smile on the face of the 3rd Battalion commander hints at hidden motives and insidious plans. The thought of 100 kilograms of magic stone brings a greedy and predatory grin to the colonel. The female soldiers say a warm farewell to their new friends, wishing them a safe journey. The guys shyly promise to treat the girls next time, maintaining hope for a new meeting. A comrade's panicked cry interrupts the idyll, and Kim Min-jun faces another problem. A strange energy sensation in the dungeon forces the hero to take a day off for an urgent trip to Daejeon. Subordinates monitor the situation at the portal while the 3rd Battalion commander issues orders from the military base. The sudden movement at the portal causes alarm and confusion among the soldiers. The commander and sergeant's faces are distorted with anger and anticipation. The situation is clearly getting out of control. The next day's midday greets Daejeon with the deceptive calm of its city streets. Kim Min-jun looks at the chaos at the portal with displeasure. Soldiers with a wheelbarrow full of magic stone emerge from the portal, attracting the hero's attention. A soldier at a bus stop ponders how to gain access to the dungeon for inspection. A giant pigeon with ominous purple eyes thanks Kim Min-jun for coming. Lee Bong-gu, in the form of a dove, reports that he is keeping constant watch over the dungeon, awaiting orders. Kim Min-jun's confidence grows at the thought of 100 kilograms of magic stones. Information about the exorbitant price of the crystals makes one wonder about the scale of the upcoming operation. The comparison to the dungeon in Isgard hints at the incredible potential of this place. The shocking prospect of a 100-fold increase in profits causes the familiar pigeon to panic. The incredible energy hidden in the dungeon can become a source of not only wealth, but also powerful weapons. Confirmation of aggressive and unfamiliar energy causes the dove to flutter its wings nervously. Kim Min-jun recalls with tension that he saw this mysterious energy only once. The soldiers continue to carry out the magic stones, unaware of the threat looming over them. Ominous tentacles burst out of the portal, sowing panic and chaos among the military. The order to follow instructions and abandon your comrades sounds like a death sentence for those left inside. The realization that this is a fake dungeon changes everything, turning the situation into a death trap. Kim Min-jun encounters a possessed soldier whose body is covered in dark tentacles. The hero decides to enter the dungeon alone, ordering a report on the situation to the 104th Division. Warnings of danger cannot stop the young man's determination to save the soldiers remaining inside. The possessed colonel blocks the way. His mad look does not bode well. The hero dives into the portal, seething with energy without hesitation, leaving behind shocked witnesses. The tentacles close behind the young man, cutting off his escape route. The colonel's face twists into a grimace of horror as he realizes the full scale of the nightmare that is unfolding. A system notification confirms the entrance to the dungeon, plunging the hero into a dark unknown. Deep in the cave, Kim Min-jung finds surviving soldiers surrounded by a scattering of precious crystals. The faces of the soldiers, Privates Lee Ju-hwan, Jong Jong-tai and Corporals Kim Sung-won, Choi Tai-hyun, Im Tai-sun, are full of horror and confusion. Kim Min-jun's calm question about other survivors sounds dissonant against the general chaos. The unexpected appearance of a sergeant from the 104th Division leaves the soldiers in shock and disbelief. The hero puts off explanations for later, focusing on the main thing, checking the condition of the victims. The lack of proper equipment on the transport team evokes a silent reproach in the young man. The idea of sending only a transport team into the dungeon without support seems to the hero the height of absurdity. Kim Min-jun orders the soldiers to take their equipment with them in preparation for the unknown. The shocking news that they are in a fake dungeon leaves the soldiers terrified. The hero tries to explain to the soldiers the mortal danger of their situation in simple words. Comparing the dungeon to a giant man-eating monster makes the blood run cold in the veins of the frightened fighters. A scattering of magical stones on the cave floor turns out to be just bait in a deadly trap. Kim Min-jun's confident promise to get everyone out gives the soldiers a tentative hope. The only condition for salvation is unquestioning obedience to every command of the hero. The new plan of action, moving towards the center of the dungeon, destroying monsters along the way, sounds like madness. The soldiers' doubts about the correctness of this plan are replaced by fear at the mention of monsters. The hero confirms their worst fears. Now the main goal is to survive and destroy the enemy. Ugly clay monsters begin to rise from the ground, causing the soldiers to panic. A powerful blow from a fist charged with crimson energy shatters the monster into pieces. Kim Min-jun stands up for the terrified soldiers, ordering them to stay back. The realization that it was the same sergeant from the 104th Division standing in front of them made Corporal Im Tai-sun freeze in amazement. Rumors of a legendary hunter circulating in the community finally take on flesh and blood. The invincible monster of the hunter army appears in all its glory, its confidence bordering on arrogance. Commander Sun Tae-ho lashes out in anger at his subordinate, ignoring the military salute. The accusation of unauthorized actions takes the colonel by surprise, and he babbles pathetic excuses. The commander's wrath falls upon the colonel, who risked the lives of soldiers for his own gain. The tears of despair in the colonel's eyes reveal the fear and greed that led to the disaster. An unauthorized operation in a barely explored dungeon looks like pure suicide. The accusation of promotion-seeking strikes at the heart, revealing the colonel's true motives. The threat of severe punishment puts an end to this conversation. The fate of the offender is sealed. Commander Sun Tae-ho casts an icy glance at the portal, promising to personally put the colonel behind bars if there are any losses. The desire to help pushes the soldiers forward, but Kim Min-jung abruptly stops their impulse. The hero reminds us of his goal, to deal with the parasites in the center of the dungeon. Monsters spawned by the dungeon itself pose a deadly threat to anyone who dares enter. The closer to the center, the more of these creatures there are, turning the path into a real hell. The advice to conserve their strength sounds like an order, because any wound could be fatal for them. The real reason the hero took everything upon himself was the thirst for experience points, which flow like a river here. The greedy grin on the young man's face reveals his intention to take all the spoils for himself. The team, with renewed vigor, rushes deeper into the cave, ready for new battles. Inspired by the order, the soldiers run forward with battle cries, led by their savior. Ahead of them lies a new horde of clay monsters, eager to devour the uninvited guests. The dungeon's weakening field becomes a deadly trap for a weak squad. The only way to salvation lies in destroying the mysterious ball in the center of the cave. The strict order not to die becomes both a blessing and a heavy burden for the soldiers. Kim Min-jung takes on the main threat, promising to deal with the enemies quickly and effectively. Despite their fear, the soldiers eagerly accept the fight, drawing their blades. A new wave of clay monsters roars as they rush towards the squad, ready to devour them. Leaping into the thick of enemies becomes the hero's best opportunity to test his skills. A powerful airstrike pierces through the thickness of monsters, creating a shockwave. A devastating attack turns the ground into mush, destroying dozens of creatures in one fell swoop. The hero breaks free from the clay captivity, his body covered with the remains of destroyed enemies. The mad gleam in the young man's eyes betrays his thirst for battle and experience points. A mysterious purple sphere hovering above the altar pulses with ominous energy. The sergeant's sudden cry makes everyone retreat in horror from the dangerous artifact. The sphere explodes, releasing a cloud of toxic fog that consumes everything around it. Kim Min-jun realizes the deadly danger of poison for his comrades, who have no immunity. There is no time to think. The hero activates his demonic energy to protect the squad. The artifact given to him by the commander suddenly reacts to magical power, revealing its hidden capabilities. Remembering the commander's words makes the situation clearer. This item really does improve abilities. The long-awaited moment has arrived. The hero can finally use the artifact to improve his characteristics. A copy bracelet capable of reproducing any skill becomes an incredible stroke of luck and the key to victory. The perfect skill for the current situation has been found. The hero is ready to use his devastating power. A giant sword of pure dark energy materializes in the hands of the young man. The memory of the battle with the Dark Knight comes to life. His unique technique is now in the hands of the hero. Kim Min-jun is surprised to realize that he has copied the legendary monster's unique skill. The Banish ability summons a magical sword that can rip apart space and banish the enemy to another dimension. A powerful blow cuts through the poisonous cloud, opening a passage to another dimension. The poisonous fog, along with the monsters and the sphere, draws everyone into the resulting spatial vortex. The remaining poison and energy are sucked into the rift, clearing the cave of the deadly threat. The hero looks at his hands with satisfaction, feeling how strength fills his body. A panicked call from a familiar interrupts the moment of triumph, as a new catastrophe looms outside. The military installs a device right at the entrance to the dungeon portal. The installation of the magic bomb is complete. The order to evacuate all but a minimum number of people sounds ominous. Commander Sun Tae-ho watches with icy calm as the deadly device is installed. Kim Min-jun stands alone at the top of the altar, unaware of what is happening outside. The hero promises to get out with a mad grin, his fists clenching in anticipation of a new battle. The division commander receives a detonator for a magic bomb from a subordinate. The plan to destroy the dungeon along with everyone inside seems to be the only way out. An unexpected report of a sergeant from the 104th Division interrupts the sinister plans. Confirming that Kim Min-jun entered the dungeon with the missing squad changes everything. Commander Sun Tae-ho's face is distorted with rage. The presence of a foreign soldier in his area of responsibility is an unheard-of violation. The guard's account of the gate's strange behavior confirms the worst fears. The news of the imminent arrival of Battalion Commander Kim Min-jun brings some clarity. The name of the legendary sergeant makes Commander Sun Tae-ho think about the seriousness of the situation. The order to evacuate the soldiers has been carried out, and now the commander awaits the outcome alone. 4 hours in a dungeon without equipment. This thought does not give the commander any peace. A soldier's alarmed cry about leaving the portal forces everyone to take up battle positions. A man in civilian clothes decisively enters an unstable portal. The presence of medical personnel at the scene of an incident indicates preparedness for the worst outcome. Silhouettes of rescued soldiers emerge from the portal, instilling hope in the hearts of those waiting. The commander greets the survivors with relief, his face expressing genuine concern. The tears of joy on the rescued soldier's face speak of the horror he experienced and his gratitude. The cry of the dungeon's capture echoes throughout the area, announcing victory. Kim Min-jun gives a military salute, his face expressing calm and a sense of duty accomplished. Commander Sun Tae-ho's gaze is full of respect and gratitude towards the young hero. The evening sun floods the 107th Division headquarters, bringing an end to a busy day. The commander begins the interrogation, asking how the soldier managed to end up in the dungeon on his day off. The sly grin on the young man's face betrays his innocent lie about looking for a commander for a joint dinner. Disbelief and shock are reflected on the commander's face, who cannot believe such an absurd reason. The commander seems to think that the circumstances were a coincidence, but it is impossible to refute them. The hero enthusiastically confirms his version, explaining everything by an instinctive desire to help when he sees danger. The commander's infectious laughter lightens the mood, and his opinion of the young man's oddities only grows stronger. Recognition of the enormous contribution to the rescue operation becomes a well-deserved reward for the hero. The gratitude on the young man's face gives way to tense anticipation, and the conversation takes a serious turn. The comment that Kim Min-jun stands out too much sounds like a hidden warning. His rapid promotion has attracted the attention of the hunter's headquarters, which could have consequences. The thought of possible troubles due to increased attention does not frighten the hero, but only arouses curiosity. The commander offers his protection, promising to take responsibility for any problems that may arise. The young man's sincere gratitude for the offered support strengthens their newfound trust. The offer to ask a personal question as a thank you for saving the soldiers sounds like a test. The refusal of a promotion shocks the commander, who does not understand the motives of this strange guy. The hero's gaze falls on a mysterious crystal emitting a weak but pure demonic energy. The commander offers the crystal as a gift with a sly smile, testing the young man's reaction. An irresistible desire to collect rare stones makes the hero enthusiastically accept the generous gift. The story of the recent theft of a similar stone becomes the commander's final argument to get rid of the dangerous artifact. Despite its unclear origin, the commander hands over the crystal, relying on intuition. The thought of constantly clashing with an eccentric like Sheng Wu causes the commander to become internally irritated. A direct question about his relationship with his daughter takes Kim Min-jun by surprise. The answer about pure military comradeship sounds firm and convincing, leaving no room for doubt. The satisfied smile on the commander's face shows that he received exactly the answer he wanted to hear. A farewell order to go see your battalion commander ends this tense but productive conversation. The familiar's loud praise for the delicious food causes a wave of irritation in Kim Min-jun. The slowdown in the growth of characteristics leads the hero to think that the limit of efficiency has been reached. The appearance of a new notification in the system window arouses keen interest and anticipation in the young man. Night falls on the hunter's headquarters in Gyeonggi-do, casting shadows over the events to come. An angry shout breaks the silence of the office where Sun Tae-ho is being scolded for his mistake. The news of an upcoming inspection from the 107th Division, led by Lieutenant General Kim Chang-mo, makes the commander's blood run cold. A threat from the authorities sounds like a death sentence. A successful outcome of the incident no longer matters. Commander Kim Chang-mo is furious and promises to report Lee Sang-jin's misdeeds to headquarters. A sudden knock on the door interrupts the angry tirade, causing the commander to freeze in anticipation. The officer who entered salutes, his appearance adding even more uncertainty to the tense atmosphere. The dark figure in the boss's chair gives those who enter an unpleasant premonition. The commander of the Hunter Army, Colonel General Ko Hak-chol, appears in all his imperious glory. The arrival of Commander Lee, accompanied by his subordinates, creates an atmosphere of anticipation and anxiety. A panicked scream from the office causes Commander Lee and his men to rush to help. The realization that their target is that same guy confirms the commander's worst fears. A tired sigh and a curse reveal Commander Lee's frustration, as he realizes he's in trouble. The idea that the enemy had deliberately chosen the time of his absence enrages Commander Kim Chang-mo. The memory of a conversation with a subordinate an hour earlier clarifies the situation. Senior Sergeants Yu Tai-hwan and Jang Min-soo of the Hunting Special Forces appear before their commander. Commander Kim Jong-in listens to the report with understanding, but his gaze reveals hidden doubts. Commander Kim Jong-in can hardly hide his irritation at the intrusive visitors. Tension in the office rises as the commander feels pressure from the uninvited guests. Staff Sergeant Yu Tai-hwan goes on the offensive, his tone becoming threatening. The suggestion to send a formal letter sounds like a mockery, emphasizing the superiority of their position. A direct order to call Kim Min-jung leaves the commander no choice but to obey. The hero arrives when called, his crisp military salute breaking the tense silence. The patch on the guests' uniforms reveals their affiliation with the hunter's headquarters, which arouses the young man's suspicions. Staff Sergeant Yu Tai-hwan takes the initiative, introducing himself and his men. The warm handshake and introduction of Staff Sergeant Yu Tai-hwan seems too friendly. Praising the hunters for rescuing them from the fake dungeon sounds like the beginning of a recruitment drive. A direct offer to join a special squad of hunters becomes the main topic of conversation. The thought of recruitment makes Kim Min-jun smile slightly. He understands the true purpose of this visit. The squad's specific duties, which include clearing high-level dungeons and protecting VIPs, require special talents. The realization that such a service offer is impossible to refuse makes the hero tense up internally. Investigating crimes committed by civilian hunters makes combat prowess the primary selection criterion. Kim Min-jun's merits and brilliant work at headquarters did not go unnoticed. The promise of a special promotion to junior sergeant becomes a strong argument in favor of joining the unit. The opportunity for rapid career advancement in the special forces makes the offer even more tempting. The lack of a reason to refuse puts Kim Min-jun in a hopeless situation. An awkward apology and leaving the phone on the table looks like a strange and inappropriate gesture. The special communication device issued to the special forces emphasizes the confidentiality of their missions. The question of using the internet and computers reveals the hero's main concern. A strict ban on personal devices and the internet on the special forces unit's premises ruins all the young man's plans. The officer's inner jubilation betrays their confidence that the new recruit did not suspect anything. The heavy silence and thoughtful look of the senior sergeant speak of hidden doubts. The refusal of a unique opportunity for the sake of a game causes a storm of indignation and shock among the officers. The firm statement about the irreplaceability of the game as a source of energy baffles recruiters. Understanding the hero's true motives forces Senior Sergeant Yu Tai-hwan to change tactics. The unexpected decision to leave puts the officers in an awkward position. Their plan has failed. The accusation of lack of confidence and searching for ridiculous excuses sounds like a last-ditch attempt to hurt the young man's pride. The threat of immediate expulsion in case of failure of the entrance test should have been the decisive argument. A calm question about the reason for such confidence in his failure disarms the recruiters. The officers' puzzled whispers betray their confusion. They had not expected such composure. Kim Min-jun challenges him, demanding proof that he will inevitably fail. Staff Sergeant Chang Min-soo accepts the challenge, his eyes lighting up with excitement. Commander Kim Young, in panics and tries to stop his subordinate, sensing trouble. The offer to use the training room sounds like an invitation to a duel. The entrance test turns out to be a serious fight with a senior hunter from a special squad. Despite his initial refusal, Kim Min-jun accepts the challenge, his gaze full of determination. The hero's confidence in victory sets a condition. If he succeeds, the recruiters will politely leave him. The mockery of the choice of weapons sounds like a challenge, which the senior sergeant accepts with undisguised pleasure. The announcement of the rules of the fight, 3 rounds of 3 minutes each, creates the atmosphere of a real sports fight. The very first blow knocks the opponent down, demonstrating an overwhelming superiority in strength. The whip flying off from the blow symbolizes a crushing and humiliating defeat. The hero's body, helplessly sprawled on the floor, indicates a complete failure of the entrance test. Kim Min-jun's calm confidence in his victory puzzles the commander. Despite the obvious defeat, the commander continues to believe in the strength of his subordinate. The thought of possible problems after victory makes the hero think about the consequences. The fear of hurting the pride of the elite squad becomes the main cause of the young man's anxiety. A clever trick, allowing the opponent to hit you once, should save face for the loser. Senior Sergeant Yu Tae-hwan interrupts the fight, ordering the defeated man to be taken to the hospital. Praising someone for being able to dodge the first blow sounds like an acknowledgement of potential, but with a caveat about a lack of experience. The sudden announcement that the fight is not over leaves everyone in shock. The incredible resilience of the hero who rises after a crushing blow seems impossible. Warnings about possible injuries and problems cannot stop the young man's determination. The confidence that there are no problems and the demand to continue the fight speak of an unbending will. The hero's stubbornness evokes a mixture of irritation and respect in Senior Sergeant Chang Min-soo. The realization that it's not a matter of willpower makes the Senior Sergeant reconsider his approach. Activating the demonic whip and the demonic energy singularity becomes the hero's secret weapon. The fury on Senior Sergeant Chang Min-soo's face suggests he has encountered something completely unexpected and brazen. A hail of blows rains down on the enemy, demonstrating incredible speed and mastery of weapons. Kim Min-jung parries attacks with ease, his movements full of confidence and control. The black ribbon of the whip flies past the target, creating a feeling of dangerous proximity. Staff Sergeant Chang Min-soo dodges the attacks, his face expressing concentration and excitement. The self-confident statement that it is impossible to harm him sounds like a challenge. A cry of pain pierces the silence as an invisible force pierces the body of the Senior Sergeant. The bewilderment and shock on Senior Sergeant Yu Tae-hwan's face reveals a complete lack of understanding of what happened. A powerful whip strike sends the enemy flying, demonstrating the hero's hidden strength. A cry of pain and blood on the chest indicate the seriousness of the wound. The satisfied smile on the young man's face suggests that he has finally understood the power of his new weapon. The inner dialogue reveals the secret of the demonic whip, its power piercing even the strongest targets. The memory of an easy victory over a steadfast orc warrior highlights the artifact's incredible power. The mad gleam in the hero's eyes betrays his delight at being able to act arrogantly after a crushing blow. A humiliating defeat and involuntary urination become the last straw for the Senior Sergeant's pride. The disbelief on Senior Sergeant Yu Tae-hwan's face turns to shock as he remembers the boy's resilience in the fight against the orcs. The idea that a simple training whip could possess such destructive power seems absurd. Senior Sergeant Yu Tae-hwan takes the blame for his subordinate, offering his apologies. An awkward feeling of guilt makes Kim Min-jun wonder if he went too far with his strength. A firm refusal to apologize and admission of one's own wrongness demonstrates the hero's maturity and nobility. A farewell gesture and a business card become a symbol of respect and hope for a future meeting. The offer to visit the hospital sounds like a polite mockery of a defeated enemy. A brief refusal and an admission of one's own tactlessness indicate a desire to end this conversation as quickly as possible. A satisfied smile and a business card in the hero's hands indicate that everything ended well. Commander Kim Jong-in's delight at the outcome of the duel seems sincere and genuine. The Lieutenant General's calm question about Sergeant Kim Min-jun's whereabouts conceals deep interest. The report on the hero's individual training sounds like a normal routine, raising no suspicions. The cheerful promise to personally report Kim Min-jung's refusal to the division commander seems too far-fetched. The thought that today's incident only increased the hero's value in the eyes of the Special Forces unit haunts the Lieutenant General. The subordinate's concerns about the Special Forces' possible actions clash with the commander's confidence. Kim Min-jun is eagerly awaiting a new offer while continuing to train hard. A proud cry about the good Kim Min-jun echoes throughout the office, filling it with an atmosphere of triumph. A malicious remark about the bad luck of the guys from the special squad makes those present laugh. Commander Du Seok-yong's fears that a valuable asset might be poached were finally allayed. The Lieutenant General's confident tone suggests that the time has come for their division to take a decisive step forward. The call to show sincerity and talent by choosing the 104th Division sounds like a battle cry. A sudden phone call interrupts the triumphant speeches, causing Commander Du Seok-yeon to frown. A sharp order to bring the necessary documents indicates the urgency and importance of the upcoming matter. An unexpected summons to the command office takes the hero's comrades by surprise. The order to appoint Kim Min-jung as the squad leader today sounds like a bolt from the blue. The question of Sergeant Lee Sun-ho's promotion remains unanswered, creating intrigue and tension. The decision to hand over the position of commander to Kim Min-jun seems the only correct one in the current situation. The enthusiastic shouts of his comrades confirm the general approval and respect for the new commander. A comrade's cautious question about recent rumors takes the hero by surprise. The rumor of a single soldier from the 104th Division clearing a fake dungeon arouses everyone's curiosity. The news of the panic among hunters over this incident only fuels interest. The hero's calm confession of his crime, disguised as pure chance, leaves his comrades perplexed. The complete lack of words among his comrades speaks of shock and admiration at this incredible feat. Concern about possible injuries gives way to relief after the hero's confident answer. The immodest question about rewards for heroism causes slight irritation in Kim Min-jun. The enthusiastic reaction and cries of delight from comrades indicate that the awards were truly impressive. A few days later, the squad finds itself in a dungeon teeming with goblins. The idea of a quick offer to join a special unit after such a feat seems quite logical. Rumors about another hero's refusal and even about a blood clot in one of the recruiters make the soldiers laugh. The warning against believing all gossip sounds like an attempt to maintain seriousness. Discussions about the appointment of a new squad leader and rumors about Kim Min-jun's promotion to squad leader have been ongoing for a year. An ominous shadow and a growl from behind a tree foreshadow the appearance of a new, more dangerous enemy. The giant goblin's furious roar echoes through the forest, causing the soldiers to freeze in terror. A well-aimed whip strike straight into the monster's eye demonstrates incredible precision and composure. The temporary commander, with a demonic whip in his hands, looks like a true master of the battle. The knowledge that this is personal equipment from the division commander evokes a mixture of envy and admiration in the soldiers. The mad glint in his eyes and the demon's tail reveal the true nature of the temporary commander. The soldiers are puzzled by the strange choice of weapons, but the answer lies in the hero's personal request. The enormous honor of being given a personal weapon by the division commander underlines the young man's special status. His combat skills and whip handling exceed all expectations, earning him the admiration of his comrades. The perfect balance and grip of the whip indicate that this is not a simple production piece of equipment. The magical stone embedded in the handle explains the incredible power and effectiveness of this weapon. The ease with which the hero deals with his enemies leaves his comrades in complete amazement. The acquisition of a new weapon instills in the young man boundless confidence in his own abilities. Sunday evening in Chuncheon promises to be delicious and relaxing. The impatient question about the readiness of the food reveals the hero's hidden irritation with the uninvited company. The unexpected appearance of a female soldier at the table causes a wave of indignation in Kim Min-jun. Refusing food paid for by a girl speaks of integrity and unwillingness to be obligated. The barrage of questions about how she found him reveals the hero's suspicions of surveillance. The girl's clumsy attempt to write it all off as a coincidence looks completely unconvincing. The request not to tell Hunter Kim Wong-shik about this meeting only increases suspicions. The irritation on the young man's face reaches its limit. He does not understand what relation he has to this matter. The girl's indignation at the sudden switch to informal communication looks comical. The suggestion to communicate as equals, like peers, leaves the girl at a loss. The appearance of the establishment's owner interrupts the awkward conversation, revealing the true reason for the meeting. The mention of a closed dungeon in the training center makes the girl tense up and forget about food. The mention of the recent portal incidents makes Kim Min-jun tense up, trying to hide his involvement. The girl's intense gaze and her interest in the pattern of events create an oppressive atmosphere of suspicion. The girl's internal monologue reveals her embarrassment and awkwardness at her own straightforwardness. The hero's nervous laughter and trembling hand holding the cup indicate that he is on the verge of exposure. The mad gleam in the young man's eyes and the sinister grin hint that he is ready to take the most radical measures to keep his secret.